Are the letters SSSS on your boarding pass a reason to worry? What's much more dangerous than turbulence? Should you really be the first to board the plane? You're about to figure it out. You might have noticed that most planes have blue seats. There's no mystery here. Airlines opt for this color because it's considered to have a calming effect. This color supposedly puts passengers at ease and helps even the most nervous flyers to relax. But there's also another, more practical reason. Stains, dirt, and scrapes are less visible on dark blue fabric. Never throw your boarding pass away in a public place. It contains tons of your sensitive information, including your name and frequent flyer number. This, in turn, may allow someone else to check your future bookings, change your seat, or even cancel your flights. So the best way to deal with the boarding pass for a flight you've already boarded is to take it home and feed it through a paper shredder. By the way, if you ever see the letters SSSS or S on your boarding pass, get ready for additional security checks. Instead of these letters, there may be a checkerboard pattern. Anyway, if you have any of these marks, your carry-on luggage can also undergo a thorough inspection. Why might they choose you for secondary screening? Some of the criteria are making a one-way reservation or paying cash for your ticket. In some cases, the selection is absolutely random. Look, your gate is open and the boarding has started. Wait, where are you running? There's no need to hurry. The trick experienced Globetrotters use is always board last. For one thing, you don't have to waste time standing in line. Then, there are fewer people on the jetway and in the aisle, and you spend less time on the plane. No one is going to take your seat anyway. There's one exception though. If you have a bulky carry-on bag, it may make more sense not to board last. Otherwise, the chances are high that all the overhead bin space will be occupied by the time you reach your seat. And then your bag may end up in another part of the plane, and you'll have to wait till the other passengers disembark before you get to your luggage. Duh! Before takeoff and landing, flight attendants usually flip a small switch on the bathroom door. This prevents it from flying open when it's not supposed to. With the same ease, a flight attendant can open the door when someone is inside. Look, they only need to lift the lavatory sign and move the knob into the unlocked position. Pilots don't worry about turbulence. That's because they know that there is a thing way more dangerous than any turbulence. It's an updraft. In most cases, turbulence only drops you a couple of feet down, even though it might feel as if you're falling from the top of the Empire State Building. If the turbulence is strong enough for the pilots to ask flight attendants to sit down, the plane can go 10 to 20 feet down. The most extreme white-knuckle turbulence is super rare. But an updraft is a big air mass, part of a storm or some other weather phenomenon, moving upwards. Pilots don't see updrafts on their radars at night, and when a plane hits one, it feels like driving over a huge speed bump at 500 miles per hour. An updraft is also extremely treacherous because it can push an aircraft upward to dangerous altitudes. Modern planes have a special system that detects other aircraft, mountains, and different solid objects in their path. 10 miles away from another plane, and a voice in the cockpit starts chanting, "Traffic, traffic." 5 miles closer, and the same voice begins to give pilots the directions. Airplanes can operate with one engine, even during takeoff and landing. Both engines failing simultaneously is almost unheard of. But even then, a plane wouldn't drop from the sky like a rock. Pilots would have up to 20 minutes to find a suitable place to land. The way the cabin is pressurized has a great effect on your taste buds. You lose up to 30% of your ability to taste sweet and salty things. In other words, it's not that airplane food isn't tasty, you just don't feel its flavor. That's also the main reason why airline catering companies add extra salt and spices to the dishes they cook. But you know what may help you? Noise-canceling earphones. For some reason, that probably has a scientific explanation. Cutting off all that noise around can help your taste buds. Each of those dings you hear during the flight has its own meaning. In most airlines, a boing soon after takeoff indicates that the landing gear is getting retracted. 3 dings in a row means more urgency than just one. A high-low ringtone informs crew members that their colleague needs them in another part of the plane. 3 low chimes means some serious turbulence ahead. Crew members are supposed to put away meal carts, take their seats, and fasten their seatbelts. If you're a nervous flyer, pick a seat in the middle of the cabin. Turbulence mostly affects the front and rear parts of the cabin. The middle section, which is over the wings, doesn't shake so much. Pilots and co-pilots eat different meals. The reason for this precaution is very simple. Imagine both pilots having the same dish and getting food poisoning. In this case, neither of them will be able to control the plane. If they still want to have the same dish and won't agree to have anything else, there's a safety net. Pilots don't have their meals at the same time. If one pilot ate the dish and still feels okay several hours later, the other pilot can brave their meal as well. What would you say when asked about the filthiest place on a plane? Nope, that's not the toilet seat. It's not even in the bathroom. Flight attendants warn that you should be particularly careful with headrests, seat pockets, tray tables, and seat belts. Experiments have shown that 1/3 of all seat belts have yeast and mold on them. Most tray tables are covered with bacteria. Seat pockets are extremely filthy too, but headrests are the dirtiest of them all. In most cases, flight attendants don't have enough time to change or disinfect them in between flights. If your captain announces they're finishing some paperwork, it means they're busy revising the flight itinerary or waiting for the ground staff to prepare the flight logbook. That's a journal that contains the official record of a journey. Some places, especially those flying long distances, have secret bedrooms for crew members to catch some shut-eye. These bedrooms, called crew rest compartments, are located either at the back of the plane or behind the cockpit. Such a compartment can have up to 10 comfortable beds where flight attendants can have a rest. Plane windows are made of super strong plexiglass that can easily cope with high speeds. And the window panes are shaped in a special way so that the high pressure inside the cabin pushes them against the aircraft body. In other words, plane windows are very unlikely to get broken. Once upon a time, plane windows were square, but the pressure built up in the corners of such windows, making them ultimate weak spots. This means that each square window had 4 weak spots. This made them likely to crash under the enormous stress of high altitudes. Luckily, making airplane windows curved solved this problem once and forever. Such a shape distributes the pressure and reduces the likelihood of cracks or any other damage. Planes regularly get struck by lightning, at least once a year or once per 1,000 hours of flight time. These days, it's totally safe. The electric charge simply runs through the aircraft's aluminum shell. It doesn't cause the plane any damage. But did you know that airplanes not only get hit by lightning, but they also trigger it? When an aircraft is flying through a cloud, the friction between its fuselage and the air creates static electricity. Sometimes it can cause lightning.
Now, statistically, 30,000 flights are delayed every single day. And while a flight delay may give you benefits such as a free coupon for a sandwich and Coke, it can also make you lose your connecting flight, train, or a Taylor Swift concert if that's what you were after when boarding a plane. Is there a way to avoid flight delays? Well, while they might seem like a total gamble, there are some tricks to boost your odds of getting to your destination without a hitch. According to weather expert Chris Bianchi, it's best to steer clear of booking flights on summer evenings. Seriously, just don't do it. Late afternoon and evening flights during the summer months in the U.S. are notorious for delays due to typical weather chaos. Why is that, you ask? Well, it all comes down to thunderstorm ingredients: moisture, unstable air, and a way for that air to start moving. In the summer, the sun heats everything up and makes the atmosphere unstable. The warm air near the ground rises, cools down as it goes up, and presto! You get clouds that may just decide to throw a thunderstorm party. Unfortunately, the guest list includes your flight delay. Conversely, you can choose the best time to fly. There's no guarantee your flight won't be delayed, but you can snatch the best price at least. So if you book a flight for midweek, let's say Wednesday, it'll probably help you save up to 17% of the initial price. That's around $56 if we speak of domestic flights, not to mention transatlantic ones. But it's not just about the day you book. Timing is crucial. Catch flights early or late. Think 4 a.m. and red-eyes for better deals and fewer crowds. Avoid flying from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. if you can. Long story short, the best days to fly are Tuesday and Wednesday, and the worst day is Sunday. And don't forget the summer season. If you want to have a decent price for your vacay destination, make sure to book that well beforehand. So, you managed to secure the best prices for your tickets. Is there anything important you should know about your luggage? Yep. Once you arrive at your accommodation, you should immediately toss your suitcase into the bathtub. While it might sound a bit weird, it's actually pretty smart. And the biggest reason for that is bed bugs. Those creepy little pests love to hide in beds, couches, and even your clothes. And they're all about munching on human blood. Ooh. If they're hanging out in your hotel room, they gladly hitch a ride back home with you in your luggage. So, you should avoid putting your bags on soft surfaces or the bed when you first get to your room. Bedbugs usually chill out on mattresses, box springs, and in furniture cracks. If there's no bathtub in your room, just keep your suitcase in the bathroom, as they're way less to have these little bloodsuckers. You can leave your luggage there while you give your room a good look over for any unwanted guests, or just keep it in the bathroom for your entire stay. Another weird thing you should totally do in a hotel is stashing a towel by your hotel room door. You see, wrapping a small towel around your door's safety latch can really add to your peace of mind. Just pop the towel around the latch and lock it up. This tiny step makes it a lot harder for anyone to get in unexpectedly. And to make it easier to remember, just keep that towel right by your door so you can use it every time you head back to your room. If you ever wanted to know what happens to your baggage when you're on board a plane, the short answer is nobody knows, not even the staff. Baggage is sorted automatically. Scanners scan the barcode and sort the baggage according to its destination. The three main tasks of airport baggage handlers are to move your bags from the check-in area to the gate, to move them from one gate to another when you have a connecting flight, and to move your bags from the plane to the baggage claim area. So, if your baggage doesn't move fast enough, it can be late for your connecting flight. Or the exact opposite. Your bag can get to your destination before you do, because you're stuck at passport control. Now, some people also claim that you might experience some problems if you forget to tear off old stickers showing a different destination. There's an opinion that, in this case, the scanner might send your baggage to the wrong country. Oops. So, you arrive at the airport eagerly anticipating a well-deserved break from work, park your car in the lot, and discover the steep fees for leaving it there. Why is it so expensive? Airport parking facilities operate like any other business. The expenses involved include the cost to the land, the construction of the parking area, and ongoing maintenance, all of which can add up significantly. Ultimately, someone has to cover all these costs. Furthermore, the convenience of parking close to the airport contributes to the higher prices. If you're not willing to spend extra for this added convenience, consider taking a taxi instead. By the way, the world's most expensive airport parking will make you shell out around $500 a week. It's located in Doha, Qatar, and it's earned accolades for the top-notch quality it provides. I mean, it's not surprising for this money. So, you may find it a bit weird that the flight crew is all about where your window shades are. But there's a good reason. They want to help everyone get used to the natural light outside. Plus, it's super important for a smooth boarding and deplaning experience. In case things go sideways during an emergency, you definitely won't want to be blinded when trying to get out of the plane. Also, keeping the window shades up during takeoff and landing lets the ground crew keep an eye on what's happening inside the cabin. If something goes wrong, like a fire, They can spot it right away and jump into action. If the shades are closed, they might miss crucial signs, which can slow down their response when every second counts. When you're going through security, put your stuff on the conveyor belt in an order that will make it easy to repack later. Start with your backpack so that you can toss things right in as they come out. If you have a laptop or any pricey gadgets, stick them in the middle or in the second tray to keep them safe. Basically, you need to put your valuable stuff between your personal items in the first tray, and your carry-on should be the last to go. This will keep your electronics from getting mixed up with other people's stuff. When it comes to packing, you should totally think about just going with a carry-on for a change. The freedom you get is amazing. And even if you decide to check a bag, definitely bring a carry-on with you. Pack a whole outfit in there. While stolen or lost baggage isn't really common, only 3% of luggage doesn't make it to the destination. Baggage delays happen all the time. So having a backup outfit will save you from looking like a hot mess while you wait for your stuff to show up. We all love snagging those emergency exit rows for some extra legroom, but let's chat about which seats you might want to steer clear of. First off, avoid the seats directly in front of the emergency exits. They usually don't decline. And if you're eyeing those seats in the very back, keep in mind they don't recline either. But hey, there are some perks to sitting in the back. You'll be super close to the bathroom, and there's a good chance you might get a whole row to yourself, since most folks usually skip the last row. Oh, and if you're looking for tips on seat choices for different planes, there are plenty of websites that can help you find the best spots and warn you about the ones to avoid, like those without windows. So there. So there you are. You have a long flight, or worse, a series of flights ahead of you, and it makes you stressed out. But don't worry. I'll tell you about some tricks and secrets from experienced travelers that will make your journey easier and more relaxed. First things first, tell me the truth. Are you an overpacker? Then I've got a solution for you. Try to use all the space available to you. For example, it's a great idea to put small items like socks or a swimsuit inside your shoes. Pack your scarf and belt into your handbag and so on. If you're going to travel with a backpack, put the heaviest items at the bottom. Also, try to roll everything. This way your clothes will take up less space and will wrinkle less. Now, when going on a trip, leave your massive wallet at home. Instead, put all your essentials like your passport or cash into a small container or even a toiletries bag. You can also use a mint tin to keep your credit cards and money. Put everything inside, then cover it with a piece of paper and fill the tin with mints. Voila! The perfect hiding spot is ready. Leave large bottles of ocean or moisturizer at home. Get a contact lens case and fill its compartments with the products you need. It'll come in handy during the flight. The air is really dry inside the plane. You can use small travel containers for literally any product you think you'll need during your trip. But if you're worried some liquids might spill, put some plastic wrap over the top of the container, and only after that, cover it with the lid. If you have some vitamins or other pills with you, you can get a travel pill organizer like this one from Amazon. It has several compartments of different sizes, and each of them can hold from 13 to 21 pills or capsules. It also has a sealing ring that will keep your pills safe from dust and dampness. Now, you come to the airport well ahead of time and decide to wander through the duty-free zone. And even though you weren't planning to buy anything, you can't help but put some products in your pockets. Oh, I mean your shopping basket. Don't blame yourself, it's not your fault. Lots of airports are designed in a special way that makes you feel relaxed and at ease. Yep, I'm talking about all those huge windows, a lot of light massage chairs, and comfortable seating areas. And statistically, calm passengers are 10% more likely to spend money on retail, duty-free, and food. One more way airports manipulate you into spending your money is by making you walk through the shiny duty-free stores straight after the security check. But the most curious thing is that the walkway through such stores usually veers to the left. That's done because most people are right-handed, which means they'll use their right arm to pull their luggage and are more likely to look at the right side while passing through the stores. And the duty-free zone veering to the left leaves more space on the right where passengers are most likely to look. By the way, even though duty-free shops have a reputation for being cheaper than in stores, it's not always true. For example, sweets, beverages, and perfumes are likely to cost more at the airport. Plus, be careful with what you buy in a duty-free store if you have a connecting flight. Some airports don't allow you to carry liquids over 3.4 ounces through your layover destination, even if they're from a duty-free store and in sealed bags. Arriving at the airport 2 hours before your flight isn't really necessary. Sure, there are super hectic, ginormous transportation hubs where even 2 hours might not be enough. But in most cases, this recommendation is just an ingenious plan to make you spend more money on shopping, eating, and drinking. After you pass all the security checks and passport control, you'll have the golden hour ahead. That's 60 minutes during which you're most likely to open your wallet, to buy a coffee and sandwich, get a book to read, or even spend a hefty sum on a new perfume. Buying bottled water at the airport can easily make you go bankrupt. There's just one thing every traveler should know. There's free water at most airports. Just bring an empty water bottle through the security check and find a water refill station. These places are usually located near restrooms. If you can't find a modern refill station, there must be at least a water fountain. Now, if you have an opportunity, don't exchange cash at the airport. You'll never get a good rate there. Those who have forgotten to buy some currency beforehand can instead order it online and collect it at the airport. Some services only need a few hours' notice for such an order. Or it might be even better to use an ATM to withdraw some cash at your final destination. Now, to make your trip more stress-free, invest in a high-quality suitcase. This way, you'll be sure that its zipper won't break and your stuff won't end up scattered among other people's luggage. The best option is to get a lightweight one, too. You don't need additional weight while traveling, right? And spinner wheels will help you move your suitcase around much more easily. If there's a possibility, put an electronic tracking device into your suitcase before you check it. It'll help you track your bag during your trip. It doesn't have to be something expensive. You can get one at a reasonable price. Now, here's a very important tip. Take a picture of everything you've packed in your bag before you go to the airport. This way, if your luggage is lost, you'll be able to make a claim with the airline or your insurance company by showing them the items that have been lost. It's bound to increase your chances of receiving compensation for your stuff. You might also consider printing out a copy of your boarding pass and putting it inside your suitcase. This way, if your suitcase gets lost, it'll be easier for airport workers to identify it. Now, if you wear contact lenses, take them off before boarding the flight. That dry air inside the aircraft can dehydrate your eyes and make contact lenses immensely uncomfortable. Ow! When at the airport in a new country, you might be tempted to try some new food it has to offer or buy some unusual snacks to feast on later on the plane. Well, don't do this. Eating anything you're not used to before flying may result in spending more time than planned in the plane's bathroom. You know what I mean? Where's my passport? Ah, here it is. Whew! Wait, have I left my credit card at the store? No, it's here. Does that sound familiar? If you tend to worry about your documents and cards while wandering through the airport crowds, you can get yourself a multi-pocket neck wallet like this one. It has an adjustable neck strap and has enough space to hold your passport, cards, cash, and even your keys. If you're traveling with your family, you can get a large family travel wallet. You can find one spacious enough to contain all your documents and the most necessary stuff you need to have at hand while traveling. And if it's also divided into several named compartments, and some of these products are, you won't need to waste time trying to remember into which one you put your credit card. And here's a bonus fact for you. If you ever see the letters SSSS or *S* on your boarding pass, get ready for additional security checks. Instead of these letters, there may be a checkerboard pattern. Anyway, if you have any of these marks, your carry-on luggage can also undergo a thorough inspection. Why might they choose you for secondary screening? Well, some of the criteria are making a one-way reservation or paying cash for your ticket. In some cases, the selection is absolutely random.
Many airports have carpets at their gate areas. This nicety usually comes with a few other perks: lower ceilings, comfortable seats, and pleasant natural lighting. All this costs more for airports, and carpets are not so easy to clean as hard floors are, but they create a cozy feeling for passengers waiting for their flight, making them more relaxed. Still, it isn't a gesture of goodwill on the part of airports. According to social research, calm passengers are about 7 to 10% more likely to go window shopping and actually buy something in the lounge area or duty-free zone. So, by investing in the passenger's comfort, airports actually increase their own income. If you ever wanted to know what happened to your baggage while you're on board a plane, the short answer is that airport staff don't actually know once it leaves their territory, and they probably really don't care. Sorry. Baggage is sorted automatically. Scanners scan the barcode and sort the baggage according to its destination. The three main tasks of airport baggage handlers are to move your bags from the check-in area to the gate, to move them from one gate to another when you have a connection, and to move your bags from the plane to the baggage claim area. And that's it. So if your luggage doesn't move fast enough, it can be late for your connecting flight, or the exact opposite. Your bag gets to your destination before you do because you're stuck at passport control. Another problem can arise if you forget to tear off any old stickers showing a different destination. In this case, the scanner might send your luggage to the wrong country. Most airports are equipped with giant kitchens where the food for passengers is prepared. These kitchens usually cook food for different airlines at once. And since that oh-so-delightful airplane food must be cooked for about 6 to 10 hours in advance, these kitchens have to work 24/7. And however surprising it might sound, the menu for your flight is developed up to a year in advance. This is a common practice for most airlines because every single ingredient matters and adds to expenses. In fact, one airline managed to save $40,000 after they removed just one olive from every salad they served on their flights. Airport staff sometimes ask passengers to rub their hands on a piece of cloth before putting it into a special machine. It might seem kind of scary, but it's actually harmless. You're simply being checked by a machine called an atomizer. Before their working day starts, employees put samples of dangerous chemicals into the machine. The machine memorizes these smells, and in case a person's hand smells like those chemicals, it alerts airport staff to this danger. You know how it sometimes goes. You come to the security checkpoint, and suddenly, it turns out you have something prohibited to take on board in your carry-on. But don't worry, all the things seized during the pre-flight inspection can be stored at the airport for as long as 3 months. On top of that, you have an opportunity to mail them any address inside the country. Things taken away by security and weren't claimed can also get sold at special auctions and are delivered worldwide. If you have a long layover between flights, going to the nearest hotel to rest might not be the cheapest option. There's a much better trick. Check if the airport or airline sells 24-hour access to the VIP lounge zone. In most cases, you can have free snacks and drinks there and use free shower cabins and rooms for rest at a very affordable price. In multi-terminal airports, search for underground passageways connecting terminals that most people might not know about. For example, at Frankfurt Airport in Germany, there's a walking tunnel between Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 that's mostly used by employees since passengers are simply unaware of its existence. There's an actual term for the first 60 minutes after you clear check-in. The golden hour. It's the time that passengers statistically spend more money in retail and duty-free areas of the airport. And having the most comfortable seats in those areas right in front of the shops is a clever trick to lure you in for shopping. Let's admit, sitting in front of a comfy chair while looking at a flashy sign or shopping window can be tempting, and that's exactly what the airports want you to feel. If your flight is overbooked and you can't fly at the designated time, don't hurry to accept the first voucher you're offered as an apology. Normally, airlines keep raising the stakes until they have enough volunteers to give up their flight seats. And if they don't, and you've been bumped involuntarily, you can insist on a cash refund instead. Depending on your ticket price and the time of your delay, you might be entitled to as much as $1,300. Most airports have specific experts called profilers. These people practice what's called SPOT, or the screening passengers by observation technique. They carefully analyze facial expressions, gestures, and behavior in order to detect suspicious people. Their job is to notice the nonverbal signs of anxiety, such as people licking their lips, itching, or looking around a lot. If a profiler notices a person acting in a weird or off way, they can invite them for an inspection, where they can talk to a person to find out more about them. Profilers work in both the main halls and in passport control. The typical question they ask is, "What's the purpose of your visit?" Then they check the person's reaction to this inquiry. No matter how reserved a passenger is, if they have something to hide, TSA officers will find out, thanks to the tiniest cues in people's behavior. Before your luggage even gets on the plane, it goes through 5 security levels, and one of them, besides scanning the contents, includes being checked by a special dog that can sniff out dangerous chemicals. It's a well-known fact that a dog's nose is much stronger than that of any human. In fact, dogs distinguish smells from 10,000 to 100,000 times better than people do. No wonder airports take advantage of this super sense for security and regularly use these sniffer dogs to detect suspicious substances. What's really cool is that you can't even distinguish a detection dog from its civilian siblings. Unlike police dogs, the ones working at airports aren't trained to frighten or intimidate people. The most popular sniffer breeds are Golden Retrievers, Labs, and German short-haired pointers. Charging your phone at a specifically designated spot can look convenient, but it's not really safe. If the charging station only allows you to plug in your cord, you might get malware installed on your phone with you none the wiser. The only safe way to charge your phone or tablet is to find an electric socket and use it with your own charger. Same goes for free airport Wi-Fi, apart from the airports requiring you to authenticate yourself more often than not. Someone can easily access your data while you're using an unprotected Wi-Fi hotspot. It's safer to use your mobile data, but if you absolutely have to use the airport's Wi-Fi, best clear or encrypt all your important data on your device. It might be exasperating to take your laptop out of your carry-on at the security check every single time. But the airport staff need to have a clear look at your device to make sure nothing is concealed inside. On the screen of an X-ray scanner, a laptop looks like a semi-transparent object with a clearly visible hard drive, CD drive, and whatnot. But security officers can't see what's behind some of those parts. For example, a dense and rather large battery. People tend to choose the closest security line to them. If that line turns out to be super crowded, just look around after ID and ticket check. You may see another checkpoint with much fewer people. Some checkpoints at the airport are situated at the far edges of the terminal, and that's why passengers fail to notice them. Applying for a TSA pre-check can be a great time saver for traveling in and out of the US. Being a member of this program has some great perks. First, getting through security and passport control happens faster. If you're a pre-check traveler, you won't have to take off your shoes or remove your belt. And forget about placing your stuff like liquids and laptops in special bins. If you aren't flying to or from the US, then you can look up similar services available in your country. If you're flying economy class but don't like it, who does? Check in online and check out the seating options about 4 days before your flight. It's about that time that airlines typically start upgrading seats, and you might get an upgrade to business class for a small fee or even sometimes for free. You can also ask for an upgrade when you're already at the airport. Most people forget about this opportunity or simply don't care, so you might just get lucky.
Ah yes, everyone loves a holiday. But figuring out what to pack in your luggage can be a daunting task, especially when you're limited on weight and baggage space. Not to mention, you're likely to do some holiday shopping on your adventure away from home. So, you're gonna need extra space on your return for all those souvenirs you've collected. Accumulating too much weight or bulk can end up costing you a handsome fee with the airline if you're not properly prepared. But you can now relax. You just focus on booking your vacation. We'll take care of your luggage with these handy traveling tips. No doubt your clothes are going to take up the bulk of your luggage. Considering most airline standards permit one bag for most local trips and up to 2 bags for longer distances, that doesn't grant you a whole lot of space if you plan on being fashionable on your getaway, especially in the winter. However, this doesn't mean you have to turn your undergarments inside out for repeated use. The key here is to be clever with how you pack. Firstly, you might want to consider how you're folding your clothes. The most space-efficient method to store your wardrobe in a suitcase for travel is to roll up each item. Think of your clothes like those sleeping bags you used to take on your camping trips. They always seem too thick for their compacted covers, but with perseverance, you could roll it up tight enough to fit inside. Now, you don't need to wrestle with your clothes quite as much, but the same principle here applies. Start by folding your shirts, pants, and whatever else you plan on packing neatly, similar to how you might find them on a clothing store shelf. Then, when you have them in a relatively rectangular or squared-off shape, roll them up tightly. Now that you have your little clothes logs, start packing them into your bag. And behold, extra space! Now, here's something we've all experienced arriving at our holiday destination. We drop our suitcase on the hotel bed, open it up, only to find all our clothes unfurled and scattered like a tornado stormed through our bag. Your luggage has had a rough journey from your home to your holiday destination. It's been dragged through airport terminals, tossed around by baggage handlers, and rocked back and forth during in-flight turbulence. A simple stationary item, rubber bands, will help you keep your clothes neat. Now that you've got them rolled up, place a couple of rubber bands around them to keep them from unfurling. This is an especially neat trick if you want to roll an outfit together as one. Maybe you've got head-to-toe denim that you can't wait to rock on your getaway. Fold up your clothes as before, then layer the different items of your ideal outfit atop each other. Roll them up as one, then use the rubber bands to keep them together. You can preemptively decide your day-to-day outfits before you even board the plane. However, you may still prefer to fold your clothes, especially business or formal shirts and pants. Lucky for you, we have a handy trick for that too. Instead of folding each item individually, we're going to lay it out all on top of each other. Start with your shirts and tops, alternating with one on top and one on the bottom, keeping the necks of your shirts at the center. Work your way down to your pants and smaller items until they're all laid out flat. Try to keep your pants in the middle. Finally, start folding your items in on themselves, with the shirts creating the outer layer until you end up with a neat bundle, like a present. You should be able to sit your bundle squarely into your bag. Want to save even more luggage space? Instead of putting your undergarments and socks into their own section, try fitting them into available spaces and gaps within the rest of your luggage. If you plan on taking a cap with you, for instance, the inside of your headwear is a great space to store your socks. This applies to other small luggage items too, such as phone chargers and ties. Though keep in mind that you can also lay your ties and belts out flat across the clothes in your luggage to conserve space. And if you're really limited on baggage size, say all you have is a carry-on for a fortnight-long trip, here's another method. Get yourself some compression bags to store your clothes in. These bags will compact multiple sets of clothes into the size of a small laptop bag. Fold up the clothes you intend to pack and store them into the compression bag. You should be able to fit 8 to 10 standard clothes items or a few bulky ones. Once you've filled the bag, seal it and squeeze the air out through the built-in one-way pressure valve. The easiest way to do this is either by rolling it, and you should be pretty good at rolling your clothes by now, or by using your knees to apply pressure. You should be able to fit 2 to 4 of these compression bags in your standard carry-on suitcase, which is especially helpful if you want to save money by avoiding checked-in luggage. And you can take even more clothes on board with you if you stick them into a pillowcase. The best thing about this tip is that it also doubles as a comfy pillow for you to rest your head on during the flight. If you do have a bit more space to spare, another great way to keep your stuff organized is with packing cubes. It might not be as space efficient as compression bags, but a lot of travelers prefer them for tidier and well-organized packing. You might like to divide them by outfits or clothes types, such as one for pants and one for tops. You can easily purchase packing cubes from most online retail services and travel and camping stores. There are also packing cubes specially designed for one or more pairs of shoes. This is a great way to compact the space your shoes would otherwise take up in your luggage, and to keep your clean clothes from coming into contact with your footwear. Nobody wants their tops to smell like feet, right? If you're still struggling to bring all your items with you inside your suitcase, there are a couple more tricks that you can use for that extra bit of weight without the extra cost. The most obvious of which is to use your own body. That's right, time to layer up. Pick out all your bulky items and wear as many as you can manage. You can try wearing some shorts under your pants or several layers of your winter wear, such as your sweater, jacket, and coat, all over the top of one another. You might be sweating a little, but most airports and planes are well air-conditioned. You can always shed some layers once you've boarded your flight. At least you'll have some warm wear to snuggle up in if you do get cold up there in the clouds. If you don't want to wear all those layers, there's actually another type of bag you can carry on the plane with you, free of charge. Get yourself a duty-free bag from any of the duty-free stores in the airport. You can even hang on to it for next time. Store all your extra items in your duty-free bag and carry it onto your flight at no additional cost. It's also worth considering what type of luggage you're using. More importantly, how much it weighs. A lot of people forget that the standard 15 pounds permitted by most airlines includes the actual weight of their suitcase. The bag itself can often weigh up to 4 to 6 pounds. That's a huge chunk of your weight in the bag alone. So, when you're shopping for your luggage, take into account how much it weighs. Choosing a lighter bag will give you more space for the items you want to take with you. Stick to some of these handy tips and you'll be on your way with no shortage of luggage and some extra money to spend on your vacation. Happy flying!
There are so many ways to make airplanes safer. For example, they could have ejector seats so that every passenger could be rescued. In reality, though, it's way more difficult than it sounds. If there were ejector seats, your trip would be very different. Everyone would have to be strapped into a seat with a harness to make sure they wouldn't fall out of it. Then you would have to wear an oxygen mask all throughout the flight. An emergency can occur at any time. Then, ejection in itself is a big pressure on your body. Even fighter pilots who are physically prepared can still suffer severe injuries. For an average person, this process wouldn't be safe. So, however cool it sounds, ejection seats aren't very practical and are actually quite dangerous. Okay, well, at least they could have a parachute for each passenger. But this wouldn't be very useful either. Parachutes only sound like they can save many lives. First, having them isn't efficient. They're very costly and heavy. So a plane would need to burn more fuel while flying if there were parachutes on board. It would all be worth it, though, if parachutes could make an actual difference to the safety of people, but they can't. Commercial planes aren't designed in a way that would make it safe to jump out of them, especially with a couple hundred people on board. Next, passengers aren't trained to use them. Imagine there's an emergency. The plane is falling, and 200 people are trying to deal with a parachute for the first time in their lives. It would be an absolute mess. Lastly, it's not safe to jump from the high altitudes planes fly at. So, oxygen masks, life vests, and boats are the best life-saving equipment, and every plane has those. You know those huge engines that they have under the wings? Yeah, look at them. They don't look safe at all. Birds can get pulled in, and it actually happens. They could at least put a grate in front of the rotating parts to prevent birds from getting in there. Turns out those engines pull inside huge amounts of air, and this is crucial for them to work properly. The more air gets swallowed, the more air gets compressed, mixed with fuel, and burned. And then, more of it gets pushed out from the other side, keeping the plane going. A cover at the front would be a barrier, significantly reducing the air inflow that is crucial for the proper work of the engines, and this would endanger the passengers. But hey, don't be too upset. Birds fly way lower than planes do, so they're only in danger for a few minutes at the beginning of the flight while the plane is climbing altitude, and at the very end when the plane is landing. So very few of them ever get pulled in, and if they do, it's never a threat to the engines or passenger safety. Planes also don't change up the gears like cars do, so Technically, they can't go backwards. The reason for this is that planes don't need to go backward. They can just turn around and move in the opposite direction, but face first. The only time when they need to move backward is when they have to get to the gate. And for those times, there's help. Pushback tractors. Those are small vehicles that can connect to airplanes and move them in the required direction. Watch out for those next time you fly. But technically speaking, planes can go backward if the engines start pushing the air forward instead of backward. But this is very dangerous for everyone around. One of the very few cases when they do it is during landing, to help slow the airplane down. There are cameras on the outside that let pilots navigate taxiways better. They come in especially handy during tricky maneuvering. But do you know there are also cameras in airplane cabins? You can relax, there are no cameras in the lavatories. But yes, they are there in the cabin, and for security reasons only. Flight attendants monitor them to see what's not visible from their own seats. Of course, flight attendants can check everything just by walking down the cabin, and that's exactly what they do most of the time. So, cameras are mostly used during takeoff and landing, when everyone, including flight attendants, is supposed to sit down, as those are the most dangerous stages of a flight. Notice that it's exactly during these stages that the rules are particularly strict. All electronic devices should be turned off or put on airplane mode, and big electronic devices should be stored away. Window blinds should be raised and tables folded. Seats should be put in the upright position. You need to have your seatbelt fastened, and so on. This is all done for safety and to ensure fast evacuation in case of emergency. So let's discuss these rules. Airplane mode on electronic devices is important to make sure that the signals that devices transmit don't interfere with the plane's electronic systems. If they interfere, they will block the radio's frequency pilots need to get their instructions. Do you remember that clicking sound a speaker makes right before your cell phone gets a call if the two devices are close? This is the sound pilots might hear while communicating with air traffic control. Now, putting away large devices like laptops is important because they might turn into obstacles if you need to get out of the plane fast in case of an emergency. All the pathways should be as clear as possible. This is why everything should be packed away, seats straightened, and tables folded. There should be nothing blocking anyone's way. And lastly, window blinds. The lights on the airplane get turned off too. Those two things are done to make sure your eyes get used to the natural light outside the aircraft. Imagine it's night, some emergency happens, and the lights that were left on suddenly go off. People need to evacuate as fast as possible, but their eyes aren't adjusted to the dark yet, and they can't see anything. This will slow everyone down. If the lights inside are out, people get used to the darkness and will be able to evacuate faster. The same goes for window blinds. If it's day and they are raised, people are used to the light outside and can evacuate faster. Another reason is that when blinds are raised during landing, people outside can see what's going on inside the plane. For example, if there's fire or smoke and where exactly. This way, they can plan the evacuation process better. Also, you might have noticed black triangles drawn above some windows on the airplane. These triangles mark the seats from which the view on the airplane's wings is the best. It's needed for the crew to find the spot as fast as possible if, in case of emergency, they need to inspect the engines, slats, or flaps. This little triangle saves the plane crew a lot of time. We do talk about emergencies a lot, but they really don't happen often. It's more dangerous to drive a car than to fly by plane, and most of us get in the car every day. Yet, the fear of flying is still very much out there, and people can get superstitious. In many cultures, the number 13 is considered unlucky, so airplane companies that often fly to those destinations just omit row 13. It's a small thing to do, but it can spare a few anxious passengers who happen to sit in row 13. In other cultures, like in Italy and Brazil, 17 is the unlucky number, and some aircraft have both rows 13 and 17 missing. In airplanes that fly to China, they can often omit row 14 instead.
Pilots can't eat similar meals when they're working. Imagine that you're on a transoceanic flight. The airplane is flying over the Pacific Ocean. Flight attendants deliver the dinner meals. Everyone is enjoying the pasta. The sauce tastes a bit funny though. That's probably okay. After all, you are eating an aircraft meal. It can't taste like a 5-star chef plate. Time goes by. Oh no! You were right! Something was indeed wrong with the food. But if all the passengers have the same problem, so do the pilots. To prevent both of them being out of order, pilots are advised not to eat the same meal at the same time. In such a scenario, if one pilot feels bad, the other one can take over. I mean, this is not an imperative rule stated by the Federal Aviation Administration, but most airlines make their own rules about this matter. Flight attendants have access to hidden equipment, such as a defibrillator, supplemental oxygen, a fire extinguisher, and duct tape. But probably the most interesting gear they have is handcuffs. These objects are there to protect passengers from others, and sometimes from themselves. Turns out that flight attendants have everything they need to defuse a troublemaker. Aviator sunglasses look cool on pilots in movies, but in real life, they don't wear polarized glasses. First off, they have a glare-reducing effect. This can cause some trouble in the cockpit. A pilot has to read instruments, but the stuff in the cockpit, such as LCD displays, emits polarized light. So a pilot with those cool polarized glasses can't read the displays with 100% efficiency. Pilots shouldn't wear these glasses simply because of safety concerns. Imagine a shimmer of glare coming from another plane's windscreen, but the pilot missed the sign because of polarized sunglasses. Ever noticed a hole in the tail of an airplane? Well, most commercial airplanes have it. Next time you get into an airplane, take a closer look. The hole has a fancy name, Auxiliary Power Unit. It looks like a hole from the outside, but that is actually a hidden turbine engine. Most of the time, the APU will remain off for the entire flight. It will start working when the plane lands. It provides power to the cabin lights, air conditioning, and cockpit electronics. Don't underestimate the APU's power, though. It can also provide the power required to start the main engines. You've watched a Brightside video and learned what the APU is. A perfect icebreaker. Unfortunately, you're not in a chatty mood. You just want to take the plane, land, and start your vacation. Yet again, there is only one door to board. You are at the end of a queue. Why don't planes generally have multiple doors? According to the experts, the biggest issue is that the bridge takes up a lot of space. When an aircraft is loaded from the front and the rear, it takes up 2 slots. This is not ideal for the administrators. Newly remodeled or constructed terminals tend to have dual boarding compared to the older terminals. Change of scenery, let's jump into a cruise ship. There are hidden passageways and secret doors in ships. These secrets are from an insider. Staff on the ship mostly work in their designated area. How does a worker get from one place to another without using the stairs and doors that the passengers use? There is a network of corridors and stairs all around the ship, used only by the crew. I mean it when I say secret doors. They blend with the walls, so they go undetected by those who don't know where the door is. Maybe you can stumble by accident. Here's a clue. Pay attention to the walls near the guest stairs. Try to think of those gigantic cruise ships as floating metals. This leads me to a cruise cabin fun fact. The walls of the cruise ship cabin are magnetic. Imagine you're traveling to multiple countries on board a cruise ship, a single-month voyage. You collect destination-themed magnets and decorate your cabin. True cruise fans know this magnet magic, so they put a couple of magnetic hooks into their luggage. Neat tip, use magnetic hooks to add extra storage in your cabin. Hang clothes and accessories, postcards, or hats. Speaking of ships, why do some ships and boats have small holes constantly releasing water? To keep the bilge free of water. Water builds up over time inside the bilge, and the bilge pump automatically pumps the water out again. Ships don't have headlights. Using a headlight could prevent accidents. If they work for cars, why not for ships? Headlights are the source of light, but the light that comes out of them bounces back at the light source at some point. With cars, for instance, headlights work because the area you want lit is narrow. and you can easily take action if you see an obstacle on the road. For ships, this is super hard. The light source should be powerful enough to light the area the captain wants to see. Large cargo ships, for instance, need more than a mile to stop or take action. Plus, imagine how much brighter should the ship's light be to light the whole area in front of it. They do see each other with different sorts of lights called navigation lights. These are small but practical. They arrange it in a standardized way so that ships could see each other. The exciting thing is that they don't just notice one another in the dark, they also understand each other's movements and directions. Here's an example. Imagine a ship with two nav lights. The one on the front is lower, near the ship floor. The other one on the back is high up. This means the vessel goes to the right. It can safely pass by the other ships without hitting them. Trains don't have seatbelts. A bit weird. Every time there is a crash related to trains, this matter comes up. Pretty much nowhere in the world seatbelts are used on trains. Various studies have been made about this issue. Some of them created simulations of accidents, and the results were surprising. Using a seatbelt on a train could potentially increase the number of injuries. In cars, seatbelts are highly effective in protecting the passenger and are used all the time. The logic behind the seatbelt is to protect the person when a collision causes rapid deceleration. But trains carry so much momentum that they don't stop rapidly. On a plane, passengers use a seatbelt on takeoff, during landing, and if turbulence occurs. There are no such things for trains. Entering and leaving a station is not a high risk. Experts believe focusing and making investments are other ways to improve railway safety. Now, you are traveling by train. You look outside the window. There are small stones along the railway tracks to accompany you on the journey. Those stones are formally known as track ballast. They do a very important job. They provide support to and maintain the tracks. They're not there by mere coincidence, though. Now look at the stones closer. You can notice that there is no single smoothly cut stone on the tracks, because they're not regular stones randomly poured at the rails. Each rock has sharp and abrupt edges. Sharp edges hold on to each other. They protect the railroad from harsh concussions. They facilitate water drainage in heavy rain and keep down the grass and other weeds. Now imagine replacing those with round pebbles. They will slide down. Eventually, the ballast will spread out and tracks will fall apart. The last thing you would want, especially if you were a passenger on that train.
You arrive at the airport anticipating a pleasant flight. After all, you've paid more for that extra legroom, or a comfy window seat, or a business class. That's when you find out you've been downgraded. How come? And if you can get downgraded, is the opposite possible too? Then what other secrets do airlines hide? Experts claim downgrades do happen, and rather frequently at that. The reasons vary. The airplane can get unexpectedly swapped for a smaller one because of some technical issues. Or a passenger can miss their connection because of a flight delay. The next flight can be a different airplane model, or the seats in the needed class might be already booked. The flight can be overbooked. In this case, if you arrive at the check-in later than other passengers, the place you've booked can already be given away. There have also been cases where people bought first-class tickets only to find out later there was no first class on the plane whatsoever. Oops. But then, how about getting a better seat? Your chances to have an upgrade are higher if you travel at quiet times, for example during bank holidays when business travelers don't fly that often. Join an airline's loyalty program and try to book your flights only with this carrier. Come early for your flight. If there are spare seats in a higher class, you may get them for free. First come, first served. But the rules of downgrading and upgrading aren't the only secrets airlines, flight attendants, and airport staff don't want you to know. If your flight is canceled, get in line at the airline's ticket counter as soon as possible. But while you're waiting, call their customer service. It's usually faster than talking to a gate agent, and in your case, seconds matter. Airport lounges can be available for regular travelers. In most of them, you can pay a certain amount of money and rest in a quiet place with free food and drinks. You can't stay trapped on a plane without going anywhere for more than 3 hours. Any longer than that, and you can ask for compensation. Crew members have a special name for passengers who turn up late and without an assigned seat. It's spinners. Such passengers keep flapping around trying to find an unoccupied place or figure out which overhead bin has a bit of space for their bag. If you need to find a bathroom, the cheapest cafe, or your gate at the airport, don't ask pilots. They're usually just as clueless as you are, unless it's their base airport. Planes must be at least 85% full to bring profit. That's why many flights are overbooked, in case some passengers don't show or miss their connection. If you get bumped unwillingly and are delayed for 2 or more hours, you're entitled to compensation. If you have a choice, pick cash or a check. Vouchers tend to have expiration and blackout dates. Flight attendants dislike delays as much as you do. They're only paid for flight hours, not for the time spent on the ground. Air companies offer cabin crews a small expense allowance for every hour they spend at the airport, but that's pretty much it. Buying group tickets is likely to cost you more than getting several single ones. Let's say you need 5 tickets, but there are only 3 discounted ones left. Instead of snatching 3 cheaper ones and buying 2 at full price, you'd have to pay for 5 regular price tickets. For domestic flights, the cheapest days to fly are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. If it's an international flight, opt for weekdays. Plus, wait for a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday to buy tickets at the lowest price. Despite what you might have seen in action movies, an ordinary person will never manage to land a commercial airplane. Contrary to popular belief, there's no cargo compartment underneath the plane, no extra layers filled with suitcases, bags, and pet carriers. Even if there are some accessible alcoves under the cockpit or cabin, they're too tiny for a person to move without having to crouch. Airplanes only get cleaned once a month or every 6 weeks. But when this time comes, an aircraft is usually taken to the hangar, and the whole cleaning process lasts for more than 8 hours. Each of those dings you hear during the flight has its own meaning. For example, a high-low sound informs flight attendants their colleagues need them in another part of the cabin. 3 low dings mean serious turbulence ahead. Duty-free stores aren't always cheaper than retail ones. What's more, goods are sometimes delivered to duty-free from regular city stores. So do not alarm passengers. Pilots and cabin crew often replace the word turbulence with a more neutral air pocket. Flight attendants assess you when you're boarding the plane. If you look strong enough and are wearing comfortable clothes, they'll remember it to ask you for help in case of an emergency. Don't worry if you notice airplane wings flex. They're designed to be flexible. If they were stiff, they would break as soon as the airplane came across the slightest turbulence. You may have an opportunity to check your carry-on bag at the gate, and totally for free. Listen for messages offering complimentary checked bags. It happens when the airline expects a full flight and there's a shortage of overhead bin space. Be careful with what you buy in duty-free if you have a connecting flight. Some airports won't allow you to carry liquids over 3.4 ounces through your layover destination, even if they're from a duty-free store and in a sealed bag. You can ask for an extra portion if you still feel hungry after the meal on the plane. If you're nice and polite and the food is available, you'll get it. Most airlines get rid of the leftovers after the flight anyway. Planes never fly in straight lines. All routes have to pass not far from airports so that pilots have enough time to reach one if there's a forced landing. Weather conditions can also affect the trajectory. Airport taxis can charge you twice the actual price of the ride. It's always better to use an online taxi app or rent a car. If you don't have these options, make sure to find out the rate in advance. Airplane headphones are reusable, even though the bag you get is sealed. foam covers get changed, and airphones are handed out to the next plane load of passengers. What surprises flight attendants most is passengers getting off the plane and leaving some or all of their stuff behind. You'll feel safer and happier in an airplane with a wider entrance and brighter lighting. You might even believe your food tastes better and your seat is wider. When a security agent is having a pleasant conversation with you, they might be checking your behavior right at that moment. They know how to make sure you aren't planning anything suspicious. When pilots fly as passengers, they ignore turbulence but pay attention to unusual smells. They know which scents can indicate problems with the engine or fuel storage systems. You can find free water at most airports. Just remember to bring along an empty plastic bottle. The chances are you'll see either a water refill station or at least a water fountain. The dirtiest places on any plane are the seatbelts, headrests, tray tables, and seat pockets. If your captain announces they're finishing some paperwork, it means they're busy revising the flight itinerary or waiting for the ground staff to prepare the flight logbook. That's a journal that contains the official record of a journey. You'll be the first to grab your suitcase at the baggage carousel if you check it later than other passengers. Bags that are loaded the last are typically the first to get to the baggage claim area. Some planes, especially those flying long distances, have secret bedrooms for crew members who need to catch some shut-eye. These bedrooms, called crew rest compartments, are located either at the back of the plane or behind the cockpit. Such a compartment can have up to 10 beds where flight attendants can have rest.
Planning a trip? Make sure you have the essentials in your wallet. Your ID, bank cards, a crayon, foreign currency. Wait, a crayon? Yeah, you heard it right. Some avid travelers swear by always keeping a crayon inside their wallet. Here's why. Crayons can always write. If you need a writing utensil, they don't need to be sharpened, and they never run out of ink. If you drop a pencil, the lead inside usually breaks, making it impossible to get that satisfying sharp point ever again. Traveling with one could jostle it a lot, meaning you'll need to be sharpening and sharpening and sharpening. Pens and planes? Not a great match. The rapidly changing air pressure in the cabin can cause your pen to burst, oozing ink onto all your belongings. But why keep a crayon in your wallet specifically? Well, for two reasons. One is that no matter where you go on your travels, you're probably bringing your wallet along. So keeping anything that might come in handy inside means you'll always have whatever you need at hand. The second reason is that a crayon is said to make sure your cards remain intact. A bent or snapped card could be a huge deal while abroad. So, keeping something straight and solid inside your wallet can protect your cards from such accidents. And while pencils and pens are too long to fit in the usual wallet, a crayon is the perfect length. So, you're out and about on vacation in a beautiful city abroad. You've explored the sights and culture, and now you're tuckered out. You'd really love a warm drink and a cozy place to relax, but you don't speak the local language. You plan to study a bit on the plane, but, well, that onboard movie was just too entertaining. So how can you ask where the nearest coffee shop is? Here's where the crayon comes in handy. Get a piece of paper and draw common symbols, such as Wi-Fi, a coffee cup, a bathroom symbol, and a question mark. Point at each symbol to ask a friendly local almost all of the common questions you might need to ask. Oh, warm coffee? Here you come. Flying with a friend? Here's a clever tip for when you're picking out your seats. Never select the middle seat. Of course, we all want to sit next to our friend, but try picking the aisle and window seats with a gap in between. No one likes sitting between two people they don't know, so others will be unlikely to pick the seat between you two. You'll have a bigger chance of getting the whole row to yourselves. But what if someone does pick the middle seat? Well, that's no problem. Ask them politely if they would like to switch, so you can sit next to your friend. Most people will be happy to. Win-win. Want to make sure no one tries to swipe your valuables? If you're carrying fancy electronics like a camera or the latest laptop, it might help to make them look a bit less appealing to sneaky onlookers. A bit of duct tape can do wonders. Place some tape over a corner of your device. Nowhere that the tape can do any harm, of course. Now, if anyone eyes your expensive item, it'll look broken to them. A camera held together by tape isn't worth stealing, so you'll have extra peace of mind while you travel. Whether you're staying in a hostel, hotel, or roughing it in the woods, you might want to make sure your toothbrush is well guarded from touching anything. After all, bathrooms can be notoriously germy. Making sure your brush stays away from suspicious surfaces isn't hard though. Just pack a clothes peg and you'll be prepared. Clip the peg on your brush, right under its head. Then prop it up on the prongs of the peg, safe and sound from any muck. Here's another trick you can use that clothes peg for. If you're ever in an airport or train station bathroom and look at the door only to realize there's no lock, don't worry. Push the peg into the gap between the door and the ground. If the gap is too small or too large, try the space between the door and its frame. The wedge shape of the peg will stop the door from opening, so you can make sure your privacy is secure. Okay, who's up for a road trip? If you're taking your friends on a cross-country adventure, there are sure to be lots of stops for snacks and sweet drinks along the way. A little mess is to be expected, but you can at least avoid some annoying crumbs inside your car's cup holders. Pop cupcake liners inside the cup holders before the journey starts. Later, you can slip them out and voila, still clean. Craving a nice cool treat while on the road? What's better than an ice cream bar on a sunny day? But as it melts, your treat can quickly become an ooey gooey mess all over your car. Well, grab some more cupcake liners. This time, take one and poke a hole in its center. Slide the popsicle stick through and hold onto your treat from below. The liner will catch any sticky drops. If you need to pass some time on a flight or train, playing a game is great. Cards, charades, and riddles. Oh, yeah, we love riddles. But if you want to play your favorite board game, you might run into an issue when you try to roll the dice. One bad roll, and your dice are flying into the abyss under the seat. Good luck reaching them under there. And who knows what gross discoveries you might make down there in the dark zone. But there's a better way. Pack your dice in a small clear container. Make sure it's completely transparent. Now, just shake the container when it's your turn. Now there's no chance of any rogue dice. Roll away. Uh-oh, turns out you're heading somewhere very wet, but you didn't pack any waterproof shoes. Don't miss out on the opportunity for whitewater rafting just because of your footwear. Try turning your regular shoes into water-resistant ones with just a candle. Rub the wax all over the surface of your shoes, especially in the spots you know will get wet. The wax will seal in the fabric, repelling water. No soakers for you. On a long day of traveling, why not stop for a picnic lunch? Nature is beautiful. Well, most of nature. The ants that are climbing all over your food, not so much. Even if you eat at a table, they can quickly crawl up the table legs. A good way to stop them is to put a little tray of water under each table leg. The ants won't be able to navigate the water and will leave you and your picnic alone. Now all you have to worry about is bees. You try not to, but sometimes while you're enjoying the scenery, you can wander away from your travel companions. Don't worry. If you're in nature, you might be able to make a clever whistle from an acorn cap. This is a trick that's easy to learn and very effective at getting attention. Plus, your friends will definitely be impressed with your creative thinking. First, you obviously need to find an acorn cap. Make sure it's not cracked or deformed. Also, the bigger the acorn cap is, the lower the pitch of the sound will turn out to be. Take the acorn cap in both of your hands. Place it between your thumbs and index fingers with the inside of the cap facing towards you like a bowl. Put your thumbs on the lip of the bowl closest to you. The sides of your thumb's knuckles should be lightly touching each other. A triangle of the cap should be showing in the gap between your thumbs. Put your upper lip on the top of your thumbs. Then pucker your lips so that when you blow, no air will escape out of your bottom lip. This is the trickiest part, but with a bit of practice, you'll be able to get it. Now blow. The loud whistle will alert your friends of your location and maybe scare off animals you don't want sticking too close by. While you're at it, why not try whistling some show tunes? If you're going out on the water, here's a trick that can help you make sure your keys are safe and sound. Grab a bottle cork and poke a small hole in its center. Now uncurl a paper clip and thread it through your key ring. Then use it to attach your key to the cork by pushing it deep into the hole you created. Make sure it's secure. If your key slips out of your pocket and lands in the water, it won't sink to the bottom. The cork will keep it floating. So all you need to do is reach down and grab it. Emergency scuba diving avoided. Hey, you've got the wrong person. I'm just a manager going back home from my annual vacation in Europe. The TSA agent pulls out a massive chunk of delicious French cheese from your hand luggage. Turns out, you can only grab really small amounts of soft cheese on board, since it's considered to be liquid. Fun fact, you can bring a cheese grater on board without any problems, but you can grate no more than 3.4 ounces. That's the maximum cheese amount. Wait, you can't grate it. Cheese should be safely sealed in a plastic bag. Good news, hard cheese is fine to travel with. Okay, they took your cheese. A large bottle of water, you're bad. Some cream tubes and other fancy souvenirs. Look at that fine Swiss knife you grabbed in Geneva. It now risks ending up in an auction. If you're lucky enough, the airport might provide a shipping service to get your precious souvenirs and even cheese, if it doesn't go bad, to your home for a fee. Still, not all the airports do this. So, some of the banned items will go to an auction to raise money. The confiscated items are usually sold in bulks, so it's going to be pretty hard to find the ones that you had to leave behind. Some other objects with more specific purposes are donated to different organizations. Pepper spray, for instance, would go to a police training academy. As for cheese, prohibited exotic fruits, and other food and water, well, they usually just get disposed of. Some items, especially really bad and dangerous ones, may be simply melted or destroyed. Magic 8 balls pose no danger, but they have to be checked in luggage. The problem is the liquid inside them. Yeah, it might be less than 3.4 ounces, but let's face it, it's hard to count the exact amount. Ask your ball if you can take it on board. It's likely to give you a "don't count on it" answer. Relieving gel insoles are a bit disturbing on board. The problem is the same. It's impossible to count the exact amount of liquid. So, no gel insoles, and no gel candles either. Perfume and nail polish are kind of forbidden too. It's not only about liquid on board restrictions, but also about etiquette rules. Some passengers may simply be allergic to their smell. Plus, they're flammable. As for nail polish removers, opt for an acetone-free version, since acetone is a no-go for hand luggage. Anyway, you can grab a bottle of perfume as long as it's not too large and you don't use it on board. It would be a pity to leave a whole bottle in the trash bin before boarding. Still, you can sneak in the plane with more than 3.4 ounces of your favorite cream, claiming it's some medicine that you really need. But you do need to notify the airport beforehand. A bit weird, but it works. Sometimes. In case you need to check your body temperature on board, make sure your thermometer is electronic. Mercury ones are strictly forbidden. Who's going to pick up all the mercury balls if you accidentally drop it? Bowling pins are a no-go for hand luggage. Seems like the aircrew doesn't want anyone to have fun and play bowling in the aisles during a long and boring flight. No, it's all about our safety. They just think bowling pins might hurt someone. No sports equipment is allowed, be it a fencing foil, a bat, or even darts. Darts are sharp, and no sharp objects are allowed on board. Such items should travel in check-in luggage, unless you want them to end up in an auction. If you're into handmade things, and a transatlantic flight gives you enough time to knit a scarf or a pair of socks, opt for plastic or wooden knitting needles and wrap them carefully so as not to cause any damage. Those made of metal will probably be disposed of by melting, and they don't deserve such a fate. Snow globes, as with any other object containing liquid inside, aren't allowed through security. If your snow globe is as small as a tennis ball, you may be lucky to have it allowed, but it's better to play it safe and check the snow globe in. Liquid bleach is definitely a weird object for hand luggage, even if you're traveling in a white shirt. First, it's not allowed on board because it's highly flammable. Second, a brand new white shirt doesn't seem to be the right choice for a flight. Coffee and turbulence just don't mix. Third, the bathroom on board is far too small for laundering. If you're a hairdresser on a business trip, you'll probably have to invest a bit more when booking your flight. No hair bleach is allowed on board. Scissors aren't welcome either, unless their blades are 4 inches or shorter. By the way, scissors that aren't allowed to fly are often donated to schools, which is a good alternative to disposing them. Bad news for hairdressers again. Due to a gas cartridge that's filled with butane, cordless curling irons aren't allowed on board. Good news, electric curling irons are completely fine and safe. If you're an artist, you must have already struggled with security rules. You don't want your paint to get frozen or ruined in the luggage section, so you'll surely want to bring it on board. Security may be okay with your oil paints as long as they're under 3.4 ounces, but there's no way you can grab your extremely flammable turpentine. Now, in case you don't enjoy food on a plane and failed to order a meal on board beforehand, you can take any pan or pot on board and cook it yourself. No, you can't cook, and you can't grab a cast iron pan either. They're quite heavy. That's why they're likely to be dangerous. If a TSA agent confiscates it, it won't end up being donated to a local kitchen. It'll probably be melted. If you want to have some fresh smoothies while flying with fresh fruit that are allowed on board, like an apple or a banana, bad news for you. Blenders are allowed only in case you remove the blades, so technically it's not a blender anymore. Hey, here's when you need that cheese grater. English Christmas crackers can make a wonderful atmosphere of joy and happiness during Christmas holidays, but it brings nothing but a mess on board. It makes a cracking sound when pulled, which can frighten other passengers. They are not allowed in checked bags, just like party poppers and sparklers. High heels and thick soles aren't prohibited, but they do cause some problems. If you're wearing one of these, you may be asked to take them off to have them scanned. Sure, there are some plastic shoe covers, but these airport floors are swarming with germs. Wedding dresses are a bit of a problem too. Some dresses just don't fit in the X-ray machine, so they might need to be double-checked. All the fans of camping, beware. You probably want to check in a lot of luggage required for your trip, so make sure you check in the tent pegs too. Though, if you travel light with a carry-on backpack only, you'll probably need to buy some when you reach your destination. Since they're sharp objects, tent pegs are not allowed on board. It's hard to imagine anyone having a drill inside their 5-pound carry-on luggage. But anyways, these are not allowed. So if you're a creative person who wants to bring a drill home as a vacation souvenir because magnets are lame, you'll have to check it in. If you want to sneak in a plane with a dry ice DIY fridge, you're almost sure to fail. It's flammable, so safety regulations definitely prohibit it on board. You can bring up to 5.5 pounds of dry ice, but airline permission is required. Anything with an uncovered blade is not allowed through security. Instead, a disposable razor or cartridge blades can be taken on board. Box cutters and knives, with a teeny tiny exception of a smooth butter knife, should be in checked luggage. Soap bars are allowed on board, but don't panic if a TSA agent wants to double-check your bag after scanning it. It just may look a bit odd on the screen and mislead them. Liquid soap, instead, follows the universal liquid rule. Rules for batteries may vary. Spillable batteries are allowed neither in carry-on nor in checked luggage, and lithium batteries also can't be carried on board, only because if damaged, they can cause a fire. Okay, you travel with your Mr. Scratchy, and yes, a laser pointer is your furry friend's favorite toy. But you gotta make do without it this time, buddy. Laser pointers are not allowed in carry-on nor in checked luggage. A walking stick can be used as a mobility device and then let on board, but surprisingly, TSA may prohibit this item sometimes. Play it safe and notify your airline in advance. Bon voyage! You're cruising up in the sky, traveling to another country for your long-awaited vacation. But emergencies can happen anywhere, anytime. Let's say the plane you're traveling in has a hole in it. As long as it's really small, it's not a big deal. Definitely not powerful enough to throw off the pressurization system. But if a window accidentally blows off, it's officially a problem. That's gonna mean severe loss of pressure, and it might be enough to depressurize the whole cabin. That might create enough force to suck something small out of the hole, like an unlucky carry-on. Airplane windows are round because that way, the air pressure is evenly distributed. If the windows were square, air currents would be able to find a weakness, and they'd crack easier. Loss of pressure can lead to something way more serious, an in-flight fire. It's not the only reason a fire would break out on a plane. Engine trouble or a drop in fuel pressure could also do it. If it's the engine burning, the only thing a passenger can do is stay calm. A plane can fly pretty far, even with only one engine left. As ridiculous as it sounds, modern planes are actually designed to fly for a short distance without any engines at all. If there's a fire, the first thing the pilot will do is try to land as soon as possible. An actual in-cabin fire would probably look quite scary, but every plane is equipped with all the necessary gear to put it out. Flight attendants aren't just there to serve you food and drinks. Their main job is to keep you safe, so they know exactly how to handle a cabin fire. Still, there's something you can do to help them before the flight. Check over what you packed in your carry-on luggage. Back in 2007, a plane left New York. Soon after takeoff, passengers noticed smoke coming out of one of the overhead lockers. The fire started because of a short circuit in a lithium battery. The crew took care of the fire in a few quick minutes, but they decided to land anyway, just to be extra safe. Batteries aren't the only things that can catch fire. A similar story happened with a passenger's air purifier. Even the seats and carpet could catch fire, depending on what gets spilled on them. That's why there are a lot of things you can't take on board. Big bottles of liquid, your magic 8-ball, snow globes, gel candles, even gel insoles sometimes. Now what about dry ice? Feel like making some homemade ice cream at 35,000 feet? Think again. It's way too dangerous. Dry ice is flammable, so you can't just pack it in a lunchbox and take it with you. You can bring around 5 pounds of dry ice with you, but you'll need special clearance from the airline. Some airlines don't allow pilots to have beards. Facial hair can get in the way of their oxygen mask fitting on properly, so it's mainly a safety thing. Passenger oxygen masks swing down because of a change in air pressure. The air inside the cabin is pressurized, so you can breathe normally. If something occurs that changes the pressure suddenly, a few things happen. First, the masks come down. Their nickname is the rubber jungle. Second, the pilot descends quickly and safely to a lower altitude. Third, the pilot gives out the all clear, letting you know it's safe to take your mask off. The masks only have enough oxygen for a few minutes. It's enough for the pilot to descend to a more breathable altitude, so you're not going to be wearing it for the whole rest of the flight. The white traces planes leave behind in the sky are condensed carbon dioxide and water. This liquid is released when fuel is burned. It's basically a slightly polluted hot water vapor, kind of like breathing in cold wintry air. Way up there in the sky, it's always frosty cold, no matter what season it is. Lightning isn't as dangerous for planes as you might think. If a lightning bolt hits a plane, the passengers won't get shocked or anything. The entire aircraft is covered with aluminum coating that conducts electric current and doesn't let it inside. This protection device is tested using a lightning simulator. During night flights, the lights turn off for 2 reasons. One is to be able to fall asleep, but the other is to get everyone used to the dark in case of evacuation. You might be asked to raise your window shade so the flight attendants can see what's happening out there and choose the best side for evacuation. It's pretty common to feel more emotional on a plane. You might cry watching a soap opera or laugh at a silly comedy. Our body experiences stress and takes everything way too seriously because of low oxygen levels. You're sitting in a closed space at a high altitude, very far from home. Your subconscious might feel unsafe, and so it reacts by dialing up your emotions. Don't be surprised if you start having weird cravings up there too. You might have bought a huge chocolate bar before you boarded, but then, once you're in the sky, suddenly you start craving fried chicken. Good thing they usually serve chicken. Or fish. Anyway, up in the sky or down on the ground, cravings are usually a sign that you're thirsty. Just go get some water. Many passengers get a headache during their flight, especially right after takeoff. Don't worry, it's normal. You're climbing to an altitude higher than Mount Everest in about 10 minutes. The air up there is extremely thin, which means less oxygen's going to your brain. Want to feel better? Chew on some gum or soft candy. Another thing you might notice on a flight is dryness. Your hands and face might feel a bit dry, and that's okay. It's all that dry air you're sitting in. Air in the cabin is filtered thoroughly, which gives it that special airplane air feel. Stay hydrated and bring a good moisturizer with you on board. You might also feel like you're coming down with a cold. Your nose might get congested. Your throat might start to tickle. Well, you know the drill. Just remember that everyone else is feeling it too. No need to worry, it's that dry air again. It dries out your nose and throat, making you feel as if you have a cold coming on. You'll feel much better once you land and get off the plane. The lower the air pressure, the more gases expand. This law also works inside your stomach and intestines. Ah yes, planes can give you a serious case of gas. The great news? Every plane has toilets. But if you do have to make a run to the toilet, don't assume that nobody can bother you in there. The toilet door can still be opened from the outside. The airline crew have to be able to get in there if you need help, even if it's a bit embarrassing. Your night vision might also feel like it's a bit off. Your eyes need fresh and moist air to function properly. Your corneas are the one part of your body that don't have their own blood supply. They get their oxygen straight from the air. Dry, low-oxygen airplane air isn't great for your eyes. Throw some eye drops in your bag, along with that gum. Reduced vision is also why the crew dims the lights and asks you to open your window shades during nighttime takeoffs and landings. Your eyes need to be adjusted to the dimness and the dry air in case of an emergency. So, the plane's taken off and everything's going smoothly. Now what? You have to sit in one place for hours, hardly moving at all. But your body feels tired, like it's been on a long run. Again, it's that lack of oxygen. Your legs might even go numb. Try to get up and move around the cabin as often as you can. You need to get your blood pumping. If you can't walk around, try to stretch and massage your legs right there in your seat. Some people say squeezing and releasing your fingers and toes helps the blood flow better. Compression socks help a lot too, at least for me. Ah yes, everyone loves a holiday. But figuring out what to pack in your luggage can be a daunting task, especially when you're limited on weight and baggage space. Not to mention, you're likely to do some holiday shopping on your adventure away from home. So, you're gonna need extra space on your return for all those souvenirs you've collected. Accumulating too much weight or bulk can end up costing you a handsome fee with the airline if you're not properly prepared. But you can now relax. You just focus on booking your vacation. We'll take care of your luggage with these handy traveling tips. No doubt your clothes are going to take up the bulk of your luggage. Considering most airline standards permit one bag for most local trips and up to 2 bags for longer distances, that doesn't grant you a whole lot of space if you plan on being fashionable on your getaway, especially in the winter. However, this doesn't mean you have to turn your undergarments inside out for repeated use. The key here is to be clever with how you pack. Firstly, you might want to consider how you're folding your clothes. The most space-efficient method to store your wardrobe in a suitcase for travel is to roll up each item. Think of your clothes like those sleeping bags you used to take on your camping trips. They always seem too thick for their compacted covers, but with perseverance, you could roll it up tight enough to fit inside. Now, you don't need to wrestle with your clothes quite as much, but the same principle here applies. Start by folding your shirts, pants, and whatever else you plan on packing neatly, similar to how you might find them on a clothing store shelf. Then, when you have them in a relatively rectangular or squared-off shape, roll them up tightly. Now that you have your little clothes logs, start packing them into your bag. And behold, extra space! Now, here's something we've all experienced arriving at our holiday destination. We drop our suitcase on the hotel bed, open it up, only to find all our clothes unfurled and scattered like a tornado stormed through our bag. Your luggage has had a rough journey from your home to your holiday destination. It's been dragged through airport terminals, tossed around by baggage handlers, and rocked back and forth during in-flight turbulence. A simple stationary item, rubber bands, will help you keep your clothes neat. Now that you've got them rolled up, place a couple of rubber bands around them to keep them from unfurling. This is an especially neat trick if you want to roll an outfit together as one. Maybe you've got head-to-toe denim that you can't wait to rock on your getaway. Fold up your clothes as before, then layer the different items of your ideal outfit atop each other. Roll them up as one, then use the rubber bands to keep them together. You can preemptively decide your day-to-day outfits before you even board the plane. However, you may still prefer to fold your clothes, especially business or formal shirts and pants. Lucky for you, we have a handy trick for that too. Instead of folding each item individually, We're going to lay it out all on top of each other. Start with your shirts and tops, alternating with one on top and one on the bottom, keeping the necks of your shirts at the center. Work your way down to your pants and smaller items until they're all laid out flat. Try to keep your pants in the middle. Finally, start folding your items in on themselves, with the shirts creating the outer layer until you end up with a neat bundle, like a present. You should be able to sit your bundle squarely into your bag. Want to save even more luggage space? Instead of putting your undergarments and socks into their own section, try fitting them into available spaces and gaps within the rest of your luggage. If you plan on taking a cap with you, for instance, the inside of your headwear is a great space to store your socks. This applies to other small luggage items too, such as phone chargers and ties. Though keep in mind that you can also lay your ties and belts out flat across the clothes in your luggage to conserve space. And if you're really limited on baggage size, say all you have is a carry-on for a fortnight-long trip, here's another method. Get yourself some compression bags to store your clothes in. These bags will compact multiple sets of clothes into the size of a small laptop bag. Fold up the clothes you intend to pack and store them into the compression bag. You should be able to fit 8 to 10 standard clothes items or a few bulky ones. Once you've filled the bag, seal it and squeeze the air out through the built-in one-way pressure valve. The easiest way to do this is either by rolling it, and you should be pretty good at rolling your clothes by now, or by using your knees to apply pressure. You should be able to fit 2 to 4 of these compression bags in your standard carry-on suitcase, which is especially helpful if you want to save money by avoiding checked-in luggage. And you can take even more clothes on board with you if you stick them into a pillowcase. The best thing about this tip is that it also doubles as a comfy pillow for you to rest your head on during the flight. If you do have a bit more space to spare, another great way to keep your stuff organized is with packing cubes. It might not be as space efficient as compression bags, but a lot of travelers prefer them for tidier and well-organized packing. You might like to divide them by outfits or clothes types, such as one for pants and one for tops. You can easily purchase packing cubes from most online retail services and travel and camping stores. There are also packing cubes specially designed for one or more pairs of shoes. This is a great way to compact the space your shoes would otherwise take up in your luggage, and to keep your clean clothes from coming into contact with your footwear. Nobody wants their tops to smell like feet, right? If you're still struggling to bring all your items with you inside your suitcase, there are a couple more tricks that you can use for that extra bit of weight without the extra cost. The most obvious of which is to use your own body. That's right, time to layer up. Pick out all your bulky items and wear as many as you can manage. You can try wearing some shorts under your pants or several layers of your winter wear, such as your sweater, jacket, and coat, all over the top of one another. You might be sweating a little, but most airports and planes are well air-conditioned. You can always shed some layers once you've boarded your flight. At least you'll have some warm wear to snuggle up in if you do get cold up there in the clouds. If you don't want to wear all those layers, there's actually another type of bag you can carry on the plane with you, free of charge. Get yourself a duty-free bag from any of the duty-free stores in the airport. You can even hang on to it for next time. Store all your extra items in your duty-free bag and carry it onto your flight at no additional cost. It's also worth considering what type of luggage you're using. More importantly, how much it weighs. A lot of people forget that the standard 15 pounds permitted by most airlines includes the actual weight of their suitcase. The bag itself can often weigh up to 4 to 6 pounds. That's a huge chunk of your weight in the bag alone. So, when you're shopping for your luggage, take into account how much it weighs. Choosing a lighter bag will give you more space for the items you want to take with you. Stick to some of these handy tips and you'll be on your way with no shortage of luggage and some extra money to spend on your vacation. Happy flying!
Hey, summer's coming. Here's our Brightside approved checklist of stuff you gotta take with you, plus some tips for you to be fully prepared for your vacation. No matter how hard we try, we sometimes tend to overpack. Who, me? Now, remember one thing, the bigger your suitcase is, the more you will try to cram into it. Next time you pack your stuff, try to stick to a 5-4-3-2-1 rule. This rule says that for a 1-week vacation, we can easily limit to 5 pairs of socks and underwear, 4 tops, 3 bottoms, 2 pairs of shoes, selected by how active you're planning to be on your vacation, and 1 hat. But I suggest we add one more item to this rule: a lightwear rain jacket, like this one. It takes no more space than 2 pairs of socks, but it can be a lifesaver for unpredictable weather conditions. If you're afraid your clothes will get dirty fast and you'll have to hide those ketchup stains on your vacay photos, there's a solution on how not to do it. Have you heard of on-the-go detergent? These are small packets you can throw in your suitcase and hand wash your clothes in the sink. Binder clips may seem to have nothing to do with vacations. After all, these are office essentials. But let me try to bring you over. They have a ton of applications. Use them to hang up wet clothes, hold broken luggage straps together, you name it. If you still prefer to ignore the 5-4-3-2-1 rule and you're struggling to cram a couple more sweatshirts into your suitcase or backpack, plastic bottles are going to help you out. Grab one and cut it in 2 halves. Next, you're going to need an elastic band. Then roll the sweatshirt you need in a very tight roll and put it in between the 2 bottle halves. Secure this weird construction with an elastic band and voila! It now takes up way less space in your luggage. But if you're not into DIY solutions, here's another option: packing cubes to organize clothes. They'll keep all your stuff well organized, and you'll easily find what you need without digging through your entire suitcase. Plus, they come in a variety of colors and sizes, so you can separate your clothing by type or color. Well, isn't that neat? Staying connected is essential when traveling, and a portable phone charger can help ensure that your phone stays charged even when you're on the go. Look for a charger with multiple ports so that you can charge your phone and other devices at the same time. Just a quick tip here: many devices are now switching to Type-C cables, so make sure all your devices are compatible with your portable charger. If you're a frequent traveler, here's a piece of advice for you. Never ever unpack your toiletries. This way you won't forget anything next time you fly. The best solution is to keep a separate kit with all the products you need, like a contact lens case or a toothbrush. But if you still don't have one, it's high time you made up your goodie bag with your essentials. You probably already have small bottles at home. Make sure it has an inscription on them claiming the bottles are not over 3.4 ounces if you plan to take them on board. However, if you have no bottles, there are plenty of them online, like this one. The kit you want to buy should have funnels to pour any shampoo or gel easily. Some of the kits even have scoops, which is great. You can do ice cream. No, sorry. They help portion out a small amount of moisturizer so you won't spoil the entire jar with your finger grease. However, there are a couple of things you better keep in your pockets and not in the toiletry kit, like hand sanitizer and lip balm. While everything's pretty clear with hand sanitizer, lip balm has way more uses than you can imagine. If you have dry cuticles, lip balm will make them soft and pliable again. If you want to clean up your makeup, lip balm and a Q-tip will work wonders, unless it's minty. You can even use it instead of eyebrow gel if you left yours at home, and it can also help tame flyaway hairs. Traveling can be uncomfortable, especially when trying to sleep on a plane or in a car. A compact travel pillow can make a big difference in your comfort level and help you arrive at your destination feeling refreshed. Keeping your belongings safe while traveling is essential, and TSA-approved travel locks can help. These locks can be opened by TSA agents without damaging your luggage, making them a great option for air travel. The world is very diverse, and so are plugs. If you're traveling to a new and faraway destination, don't forget to check what kind of plugs they have there. For example, if you're traveling to the UK, you can stick to this adapter. A small spray bottle can significantly upgrade your look. Yes, it can. For example, if your favorite t-shirt tends to wrinkle a lot, you can sort of iron it with a spray bottle. Hang it up and spray it with water. The wrinkles will disappear, and your t-shirt will look fresh and presentable, hopefully. Now let's talk duct tape. Duct tape in your luggage may be pretty stress-relieving. Now picture it. You're going back home with a whole bunch of gifts you bought for your family and friends. Whoops! The zipper on your suitcase just didn't resist the pressure and it busted. Duct tape is coming to the rescue. Yeah, a suitcase wrapped in duct tape might look somewhat funny, but it's still better than shelling out a pretty penny on a brand new suitcase you weren't planning to buy. Yeah, that does make sense. Laundry bags may come in handy when you separate your dirty clothes from your clean ones. I know, you can do that with plastic bags, but laundry bags are sort of more eco-friendly. Plus, once you come home, they'll spare you some time. You won't need to dig through your suitcase trying to find all the clothes you want to wash. You'll just need to throw the laundry bag into the washing machine. If you're traveling to the seaside, you might want to consider grabbing a quick dry towel like this one. They're usually made of microfiber that dries much quicker than regular cotton. Plus, these guys are pretty low maintenance, as they can be machine washed at up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Next on, dryer sheets. You know, we all sweat, and our feet sweat too, especially if we walk miles and miles exploring a new location. So, when you return to the hotel and take your sneakers off, woo! Just put a dryer sheet in each sneaker. It'll absorb the odor, and your sneakers will be ready for more adventures. English is surely an international language, but you may still get into a situation where no one speaks English and you don't have an internet connection to Google Translate what you want to say. To play it safe, create a set of flashcards with essential vocabulary to help you out in basic situations. A favorite snack may be one of the most commonly forgotten by travelers' items. Yeah, they do give you food on the plane, but sometimes you may want to have an alternative. Plus, your snack can even save your budget in case you have a long connection. The prices in the airport lounge are crazy. Even if you travel in summer, it doesn't mean you don't need any warm clothes. Make sure you have a zip hoodie or something of that kind, especially on board. Thing is, you never know if it's going to be cold or hot on the plane. Sometimes it gets pretty stuffy in there, but it can also be freezing cold. Airplane blankets, as well as tray tables, are swarming with germs, so it's better to have your own clothes to keep warm. As for tray tables, I doubt you can bring your own on board, so just don't forget to clean them with an antibacterial wet wipe. And have a safe flight. Now, carefully arranging your used towels isn't the best thing to do in a hotel. You're just not helping. The general rule is, dump them somewhere like the bathroom floor or in the bathtub. Then the staff can see that they need to change the towels. If you keep them all nice and folded, the staff may just get it wrong and leave them as they are, thinking that they're still fresh. You're on a low-budget trip and you brought along some appliances, so you can cook right there in the hotel. Not a big deal. But if there's only one outlet and you want to boil some eggs in your electric kettle, maybe don't. First, you never know what capacity the outlet has. It might even set off the hotel's fire alarm. Just stick to sandwiches or something. Of course, you can boil water for some ramen noodles, but if you feel like a slice of fresh, crusty toast, never try to make it with an iron. Sounds crazy, but some people have even tried heating up their frozen pizza with a hairdryer. What happened? They ended up having to go look for another hotel and an actual restaurant. Always look for hotels that include breakfast. It's usually way more expensive to have breakfast at a nearby restaurant. Plus, you most likely wouldn't know where to go. Much better to hit the hotel's breakfast buffet: coffee, cheese, ham, toast, fruit. If you play your cards right, you'd be too full for lunch. Sometimes your hotel room's way bigger than you expected. If there are 2 beds, but you're traveling alone, maybe don't use both of them. That'll just add a bunch of unnecessary work for the hotel staff. Even though room service includes cleaning, it's polite to do some basic tidying up yourself before you leave. Pick up any paper lying around. Wipe up that coffee you spilled on the floor. Don't make the bed though. The staff's going to replace the sheets no matter what. Plus, if you make the bed right after you get up, you're just actually creating a lovely dark environment for tiny dust mites. Yeah, bugs might be a real issue. Even the best hotels with the best staff can be powerless against those little guys. Put your luggage in the bathtub first. It's the cleanest place in the room. Then check the place over for bugs. If you don't see any, start unpacking. So, no bugs. But what about mold? The most common way for mold to get into a hotel room is if you chuck your wet towel on the bed and go out for the day. You might get back to an interesting smelling room. If you're going to be traveling a lot and plan on using the same hotel chain more than once, don't try to trick the hotel into thinking you never drank that soda from the minibar. Yeah, a can of soda might cost you double what you'd pay at the gas station, but you don't want to get put on the hotel's naughty list. This one sounds hilarious, but still, no one should ever be boiling their socks or any other item of clothing in the kettle that comes in the hotel room. Some hotel managers claim to have seen it happen. Just send your clothes off to the hotel's cleaning service people. If you love sleeping on a thick pillow, ask the front desk for an extra one. Don't even think about moving that cushion from the couch. Chances are, it's never really been washed. Saying thank you is always polite, but a nice tip would go down even better. It's not that polite to leave your room service tip on the last day of your stay. Different people might have been cleaning your room, so only tipping the last one is kind of unfair. If you decide to leave your tip on the very last day, leave a note along with it to make sure they share it with their coworkers. You can also tip the parking valets when you drop off and pick up your car. And in general, don't be shy. You can tip a door person, a porter. Those small tips can add up, and they'll be really grateful for any extra cash. Taking reusable items from your hotel room as a souvenir is a big no-no, though it's okay to grab those shampoos, conditioners, lotions, soap, combs, sewing kits. That stuff can save you an emergency. Leave those towels, glasses, and dishes behind for the next guest. If your room has the bathrobe of your dreams, you can always go to the front desk and ask if you can buy one. If you try to take one with you without asking for permission, chances are your credit card is going to be charged for it later. By the way, don't dry hotel towels out on the balcony. If you end up saying goodbye to one of them just because the wind took it away, or was it some shady neighbor, you'll be the one who's going to pay for it. They're just plain white towels, but they can be pretty pricey. Don't be too shy to call down to the front desk and ask for a late checkout. It's probably not a big deal for the hotel, but it might make all the difference to you. Hotels know you might be more likely to choose them again or leave a nice tip if they give you a few extra hours in your room. If they say no, well, at least you tried. One thing you can do to help the staff out when you leave is to air out your room. That small step is one of the most time-consuming things they have to do, and they have to clean the rooms really fast. Just leave the windows open to freshen the room up a bit. If it's really hot outside, you can even leave the air conditioning on. Just don't do both at the same time. Leave the TV remote on the desk, any cutlery on the table, and all the chairs back in their places. It'll save housekeeping a lot of time. They're already in a huge rush. Imagine cleaning hundreds of rooms every single day. Accidents can happen anywhere, and it's okay if you accidentally drop a glass and it breaks. But don't try to get away with it. Give the front desk a call. They probably won't even charge you for such a minor accident. Plus, management might think the housekeeping staff broke it, and they might make them pay for a replacement. Never turn down a chance to join your hotel's reward program. It's usually free, and you can get it after your first stay. If you travel a lot, try to choose those big chain hotels that give you bonuses every time you book. You could get bumped up to a suite, get better Wi-Fi, a free gym pass, or even a free night. Beware of steamy showers. If you accidentally release all that water vapor into your room at the same time, you might trigger the hotel's fire alarm. They keep those things extra sensitive just to be on the safe side. So make sure you keep the door shut next time you steam up the place. If you're traveling with a pet, let the hotel know about it beforehand. Pet policies can differ from one hotel to another, and if you have a more unusual pet, better double check. It might be a pet-friendly hotel, but you probably can't show up with your pet peacock. If they say no, they'll usually be able to tell you about another hotel nearby. Trying to hide your little furry friend isn't the best idea. Dogs can be super noisy, so can cats, so can peacocks. You're going to be looking at a hefty fine if they catch you. Booking etiquette is a bit different now than it used to be. You used to have to confirm your stay at some hotels by writing them a letter. Nowadays, just make sure you have all your booking info handy on your phone. That'll make the front desk people pretty happy. If it's a big hotel, they might have hundreds of people checking in the span of a few hours. The front desk staff are usually super busy managing guests, deliveries, events, emergencies, a random peacock running through the lobby, and so forth. Just a nugget of advice: don't disturb them for every minor question you might have. Check out that booklet that's normally hanging out on the bedside table. The answer is most likely in there. Enjoy your stay.
Hotels are places where you know for sure lots of people stay every day. And not all of those places pay attention to cleanliness as much as they should. There can be bed bugs and other pests around that you won't notice until it's too late. So here's the deal. When you arrive at a hotel and open your room, don't rush to open your bags and put all your clothes onto the shelves, and especially the bed. Better place your bags into the bathtub for the time being, and go check the room for those pesky bugs. Check out all the rugs, soft furniture, cushions, and all other places that pests could live in. Only after you've done that, take your bags out of the bathtub and unpack. The bathtub is the safest place because no bugs are able to survive there. So, naturally, none of them will crawl into your stuff while you're not looking. You may want to throw that comforter on the floor at once, by the way. While sheets may be cleaned regularly, the comforters are not. Some hotels wash them every week or so, but others don't even bother. Same goes for your bedding. Most high-end hotels will change the sheets daily, but a lot of budget ones don't change the pillows or bedding after a guest checks out. Definitely a good idea to request fresh pillowcases when you arrive. It's also best not to drink out of that glass in the bathroom, as many glasses aren't cleaned properly. Some workers even use disinfectant or furniture polish to get the glasses looking spotless. Ever wondered why they never use fitted sheets in hotels? They might be convenient, but they're impractical for hotel use. The sheets are changed much more often than you do it at home, and the elastic becomes worn out all too soon. Besides, it's a nightmare to store fitted sheets. They have to be of two different sizes, one for either type of bed. It's just easier to take 2 universal flat sheets per double bed and get on with it. Speaking of sheets, you must have noticed that bed linen and towels in hotels are almost always white. The first reason is convenience, of course. When everything is white, it's easy to wash it all together and use bleach to get rid of any possible stains. The second explanation, however, is customer experience. According to public polls, people perceive a white color as luxurious and fresh, which makes their stay more pleasant. If you see an unusually attractive price for a room on a website, be careful. It might not include a mandatory resort fee. If you have an option to pay for a room in advance, you'll see the final cost at the checkout. It'll normally list the initial price you saw before booking and all the extra charges, resort fee included. If you decide to pay at the hotel, though, you might be up for a surprise when you check out. So always make sure to read the fine print. You may have seen a rather weird thing in many hotels, a phone in the bathroom, especially just next to the toilet. You'd probably be surprised to know that it's an actual requirement for hotels to receive a 4-diamond rating from AAA. But this also makes pretty good sense. For example, if you slip and fall on the wet floor of the bathroom, a phone can be handy to call for help. Returning to bathrooms, hotels typically don't provide plungers in rooms. You see, hotels want you to have a feeling that you're the first person ever to enter the room you're staying in. It's a question of your comfort, which is the primary concern of any respectable hotel. And a plunger in the bathroom, according to anonymous polls, makes people think that the toilet may malfunction at some point, which doesn't help the image. If your hotel has card keys with magnetic strips, make sure you put your card key apart from your cell phone and wallet. The problem is that key cards are rewritten quite a lot, and they're designed for that process to be quick and easy. So, a fairly strong magnet, like the one in your cell phone, could erase your key card, and you wouldn't be able to get inside your room. The hotel will surely provide you with a new card, but that's still inconvenient. Many hotels only accept credit cards as a form of payment, and without one, you won't be able to book a room directly or use the paid services provided by the place. Booking a room is just the first step of your stay at a hotel. During your vacation or business trip, you might use the minibar or other paid services that you'll only have to pay for at the checkout. If your debit card doesn't have enough funds on it to cover all your expenses, the hotel has no means to get their money apart from suing you. If you pay with a credit card, however, all the additional costs go to the bank, and everyone's happy. The time of check-in and check-out is fixed not to annoy you. It's done so you don't barge in onto guests who stayed in the room you've booked, and the hotel staff can clean the room and prepare it for the next guest's arrival. By the way, the checkout time is normally about 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. because hotels actually care about your well-being. They not only let you have your breakfast, but also give you some time to prepare for departure without hurry. Isn't it kinda annoying that many hotels don't have a socket near the bed? In fact, time is to blame in this case. Lots of hotels around the world were built before mobile phones and other portable devices became so popular and widespread. Back then, of course, they didn't need bedside sockets, and many of them haven't yet caught up with the times. You can avoid this issue if you stay at a hotel that's been built relatively recently. Once you're at the check-in desk, it's likely that the hotel staff already recognize you. Many hotels, especially higher-end ones, will do a little research of their guests' social media. While this seems a bit creepy, it's only so they can see who you are to make your stay more comfortable. At check-in, you'll also be given an initial key which will reset the door lock and cancel any existing keys. But make sure to be respectful to your receptionists. Sometimes, they may play practical jokes on rude customers by key bombing. This is where they give you 2 of the initial keys. Either key resets the door, so once you use the second one, the first will no longer work. Toothpaste is one item you probably won't find in the hotel room's bathroom. For budget hotels, it's often too expensive to order, as it's classified as a medical supply. For luxury hotels, it's the opposite. They often can't find a toothpaste manufacturer that's fancy enough to be present in their rooms. While the staff clean hotel rooms frequently, disinfecting smaller items is not on the top of their priority list. Remote controls and phones are some of the dirtiest things in a hotel room. So do yourself a favor and bring some disinfectant wipes to clean them before use. If you're thinking about putting your valuables in the safe for security, you may also want to think twice. Hotel locks use passcodes instead of locks, so there's a high chance someone in the hotel will know the master code. And who knows who else could get their hands on this information? Hotels usually overbook themselves, as the average daily no-show rate is around 10%. This means there's a chance that you won't actually get your reserved room. If you show up and there are no available rooms, chances are you'll get walked. This basically means the hotel will pay for a room at another similar hotel in the area. There's a surprising amount of items left in rooms that hotels don't want you to know about. In one hotel in Portugal, a worker even found a shark that was left behind. With no idea how it ended up there, the shark was eventually returned to its natural habitat, safe and sound. Most, if not all, hotels have fully carpeted floors, and there's a couple of very good reasons for that. First of all, it's your safety. You're far less likely to slip and fall on a carpet than on a wooden or tiled floor. Secondly, it's much more cost-effective because it's faster and cheaper to replace a spoiled carpet than change the whole flooring in a room. And finally, carpets add to the room's soundproofing, which you'll be thankful for if you have overly active neighbors. Ever wondered what a continental breakfast is and why it's called that? In fact, the name comes from the UK, which is a group of islands, and it means a breakfast that's served in continental Europe. It may include pastries, sliced bread with different toppings, meat, cheese, fruit juice, and hot beverages.
You pull up to a hotel and see a no vacancy sign, but don't necessarily believe it. Hotels usually do this when they only have 2 or 3 rooms left. Instead, try calling the front desk to see if they have rooms. Hotel star ratings aren't always reliable, as the rating systems vary between countries. In Italy, for example, a hotel can be given 5 stars just for having a 24-hour reception desk, receptionists that speak 3 languages, and rooms that start at 16 square meters. Instead of using stars, look at ratings or reviews instead. Booking late can also get you the best deals. If your stay is not urgent, try booking a room on the day of the stay. If the hotel isn't full, you'll likely get a discount. Hotel managers reduce room rates last minute to fill them. It's also usually better to book directly with the hotel. Third-party websites are often given worse rooms or whatever is left over. Hotels are also likely to offer a reduced rate if you book directly. This is because third-party sites charge the hotel a fee. Once you're at the check-in desk, it's likely that the hotel staff already recognize you. Many hotels, especially higher-end ones, will do a little research on their guests' social media. While this seems a bit creepy, it's only so they can see who you are to make your stay more comfortable. At check-in, you'll also be given an initial key which will reset the door lock and cancel any existing keys. But make sure to be respectful to your receptionist. Sometimes they might play practical jokes on rude customers by key bombing. This is where they give you 2 of the initial keys. Either key resets the door, so once you use the second one, the first will no longer work. If your key has a magnetic strip on it, make sure not to put it near your cell phone or wallet. A strong magnet like the one in your phone can erase your card key, meaning you won't be able to get into your room. Now that you're all checked in, let's head up to your room. Make sure to have a quick scan of your doors and floor. Some hotel guests have reported tiny cameras being slipped underneath their doors. Even if the door is locked, endoscope cameras can easily slide under. The general rule is, if you can fit your finger under the door, a camera can fit too. Try covering the gap with a towel. Now, how about the room in general? If you're not happy with it, you can easily request a change. If there are other available rooms, the manager will be happy to help. Once you are settled in, you'll want to head into the bathroom to check out all those samples. But while you might think you're being sneaky by grabbing the free shampoos, hotels actually want you to take them. The items contain the hotel's logo, so you're basically giving them free advertising if you put them in your home. The robes and towels are a different story though. Many hotels are now adding radio frequency chips so they can track stolen items. Toothpaste is one item you probably won't find in the hotel room's bathroom. For budget hotels, it's often too expensive to order as it's classified as a medical supply. For luxury hotels, it's the opposite. They often can't find a toothpaste manufacturer that's fancy enough to be present in their rooms. You may also notice a seemingly random phone next to the toilet, but it's actually a requirement from the AAA for hotels to receive a 4-diamond rating. It does also act as a safety feature. If you slip on the wet floor or get stuck in the bathroom for some reason, you can easily call for help. While the staff clean hotel rooms frequently, disinfecting smaller ones is not on the top of their priority list. Remote controls and phones are some of the dirtiest things in a hotel room. So do yourself a favor and bring some disinfectant wipes to clean them before use. If you're thinking about putting your valuables in the safe for security, you also might want to think twice. Hotel locks use passcodes instead of locks, so there's a high chance someone in the hotel will know the master code. And who knows who else could get their hands on this information. You may also want to throw that comforter on the floor too. While sheets may be cleaned regularly, the comforters are not. Some hotels wash them every week or so, but others don't even bother. Ew. The same, I fear, goes for your sheets. Most high-end hotels will change the sheets daily, but a lot of budget ones don't change the pillows or bedding after a guest checks out. Definitely a good idea to request fresh pillowcases when you arrive. Now you're ready to kick back on the bed and rent a movie. But don't try to be sneaky and claim you clicked on it by accident so you don't have to pay. The workers at the hotel's front desk can actually see how long you watched a movie for. So if you clicked out after a few seconds, they'll believe you, but not if you watched it till the end. Fancy a drink while you watch your movie? Make sure to check the seals on those minibar drinks. Sneaky guests often drink from the bottles and refill them with water. This way they waive the fee and you may be charged if housekeeping hasn't noticed. After a good night's sleep, you're looking for something to do on your vacation. Instead of heading to Google or TripAdvisor to find the best spots, ask the front desk. Receptionists are trained to give guests the best recommendations for local activities. While you're out, housekeeping will drop by your room, but they might not just be cleaning. Sometimes, if a staff member is tired and they have enough time, they might take a cheeky nap on the bed. When cleaning, if you've left your room in a mess, the staff will have to move your things. They'll have to touch your stuff to actually clean. So, if this bothers you, either put out the Do Not Disturb sign or clean up yourself. It's also best not to drink out of that glass in the bathroom, as many glasses aren't cleaned properly. Some workers even use disinfectant or furniture polish to get the glasses looking spotless. Housekeeping also don't always vacuum your room. Staff will sometimes just pick up any big crumbs and call it a day. Make sure to be nice to the staff. Most hotel staff are willing to give out upgrades and free stuff to a friendly face. They're not required to, but a smile goes a long way. Oh, and a tip always helps. Now it's time for checkout, but you're leaving early and will miss your breakfast. If your breakfast is included in the price of your room, the staff can prepare a takeout box for you. It's best to give them a heads up the night before, though. Also, take a look at the floor on your way out. It's carpet, right? Most hotels have fully carpeted floors. This is for 3 main reasons. 1. You're much less likely to slip on carpet than wood or stone. 2. Carpets act as added soundproofing. And 3. It's more cost-effective for the hotel, as carpet is much easier and cheaper to replace. You're all prepared for your next vacation, but you get called into work last minute. Oh, a nightmare! Everything's booked, so it looks like you'll be charged that pesky last-minute cancellation fee. If you call the hotel and ask to change to a later booking date, there's a chance that when you cancel this new date, the charge will be lifted. Hotels also usually overbook themselves, as the average daily no-show rate is around 10%. This means there's a chance you won't actually get your reserved room. If you show up and there's no available rooms, chances are you'll get walked. This basically means the hotel will pay for a room at another similar hotel in the area. Most hotels also only accept credit cards as a form of payment. While it may be annoying, this is to ensure that they get their payment. Guests often use extra paid services, like the minibar, which they pay for at checkout. If your debit card doesn't have enough funds to cover the cost, the only way for the hotel to get the money is to sue you. Attorneys come for a separate fee. There's a surprising amount of items left in rooms that hotels don't want you to know about. In one hotel in Portugal, a worker even found a shark that was left behind. With no idea how it ended up there, the shark was eventually returned to its natural habitat safe and sound. Once again, be careful when you first go into the bathroom. They're watching you when you're in the bedroom and when you're in the bathroom. No, I'm not talking about your 3-year-old kids. One of the last things you think about when going on vacation is if the room you're staying in has hidden cameras planted all over the place. For starters, look in the most obvious spots in your hotel room to see if you can find any hidden cameras. According to some experts, if you can't find anything in plain sight, then using your smartphone is enough for a basic sweep. Every camera has a lens, and all lenses reflect light. So a quick way to check for hidden cameras is to close all the curtains in the room and turn off the lights. Use your phone's flashlight to point it at potential places or objects a hidden camera might be at. One of the apparent spots is the smoke detector on the ceiling. Grab a chair and point the light straight at it and try to see if there's any red or blue light reflected. You'll have to do it slowly since the light needs to strike the lens at the correct angle for you to see a reflection. After you're done, move on to other objects like the shower head in the bathroom or an alarm clock or phone charger. Keep in mind the positions of these objects. If the charger is placed where a surveillance camera could be, then investigate it and call the reception. Even a painting in the room can be a potential nest for a hidden camera. Other objects can be lamps, a hole in the wall, or somewhere inside the closet. Another creepy place is the bathroom mirror. This one is tricky to spot, so you'll have to be patient when inspecting it. You can also use your phone camera to spot surveillance cameras that spy on you at night. These secret cameras emit infrared lights that the human eye can't see so that they can work at night. You'll also have to turn off all the lights and put the camera in selfie mode. The rear-facing camera on most smartphones has an infrared filter, but the front one doesn't. You can try pointing a TV remote at the front-facing camera and press on any of the buttons to see it yourself. If you see a bright red light on your screen, that means it's working. All you have to do is move your camera in the dark to see if you can find a bright light around. It'll be good to do a second sweep to make sure you didn't miss anything. Another technique you can use is turning off the Wi-Fi when you enter the hotel room. Most of the cameras are hooked up to the Wi-Fi, so they won't be functioning anymore. If you get a call from the reception saying that the Wi-Fi is down in the room, that might be a red flag. There's no reason for them to know if the Wi-Fi was purposely turned off. It could mean that the cameras are on the local Wi-Fi. When you connect to your hotel room Wi-Fi for the first time, be careful about sharing your personal data. Most networks will ask for your login credentials, such as your email. Some people can recreate a Wi-Fi login page that's identical to that of the actual hotel, which can be deceiving. You might be connecting to a Wi-Fi router, but an email is all it takes for some people to know everything about you. One of the best things you can do is download an app that shows you what devices are currently connected to the Wi-Fi that you're using. It can show what smartphone, laptop, smart TV, and in the worst case, hidden cameras are connected. A radio frequency scanner can detect a wireless camera in the room, even if it's connected to its own Wi-Fi. It might be challenging, though, because of many wireless devices overcrowding the airways. You can pick up random signals even if you turn off all your devices and any wireless emitting signals. Intrusion into your personal life can go so far as someone tapping your mobile phone or landline to listen to your conversations. One way of eavesdropping on people's conversations is installing a microphone to a line that sends the audio wirelessly to a recorder from a remote transmitter. Almost anyone can get their hands on such equipment since it's not too expensive to buy and is available in many shops and online. If you notice strange sounds while talking on the phone, like clicking, distant voices, or that sound similar to an old record playing, then chances are someone is listening to your phone calls. These sounds aren't typical for a regular modern cell phone. Most bugging software runs in the background of your phone without you knowing, which drains the battery. There can be many explanations for why your phone battery keeps draining, but some software living on your phone, viruses, and malware will likely be the reason. You can also look out for unusual phone activity when you're not using your gadget. If your notifications keep popping up and you muted them, then maybe your phone is being bugged. In that case, they do not only have access to your phone calls, but your actual phone. They can fish out any picture, video, file, and information you have without you knowing it. If you try powering off your phone and it takes way longer than usual, it can be another sign of someone tracking your phone. For the phone to completely shut down, it needs to log out of all the tasks and activities properly. If your phone is transferring data to someone remotely, it might be the reason for the delay in shutting down. One of the biggest red flags is if you receive text messages that have random symbols and numbers. The ones who tap your phone use some illegal software, which sometimes requires them to receive secret codes. Make sure the text messages aren't something you subscribe to. Otherwise, contact someone who can help. If you scroll through your apps and notice something that shouldn't be there, or something that looks fishy, the app could be a disguise for a spying app. Also, check for weird history in your browsers for stuff you didn't search. You might notice your phone turning on and off randomly without you touching your phone. And worst of all, they can turn on your phone camera anytime they want without you knowing. If you feel like your phone is tampered with, then you have to factory reset everything. It wipes out all the data, including files, settings, and apps. The same risks apply to your laptop. Every now and then, we all click on something that seems legit, even though it acts as an access point for spyware to enter our computer software. Draining battery, overheating, and weird activity are telltale signs of your PC being infected. GPS trackers are the most common ways to track someone's vehicle. It's pretty simple to get the job done, but it's very difficult to find the trackers since they're usually planted deep inside the car. If you ever get the spooky feeling that someone could be watching you while you drive, or coincidentally see the same person everywhere you drive your car, then start searching for that tracker. The most common places are underneath the car or near the back wheels. But the person tracking your car is smart and knows what they're doing. they're not going to let you find it that easily. If you find nothing on the outside of your vehicle, then try looking on the inside. If you find something there, it's a clear sign the person tracking you broke into your car and planted the tracking device. Or it could be someone you know who took a ride with you once and slipped it in without you knowing. Check behind the dashboard and within your car's electronics to be sure. Instead of ripping your car apart to find the tracker, you can buy a GPS bug detector. They work by finding electronic frequencies in your car's proximity. They won't block it from tracking you down, but they'll help you find it. Before using it, turn off your smartphone or put it in airplane mode. This way, the frequencies won't intercept with the tracking device. And if you feel like this isn't working, try parking your car in a remote area where nothing is in sight. Even a remote garage would do. Well, anyone else feeling a little paranoid? Let's see some hands.
One Asian airline company has recently moved bathrooms and kitchens on a few of its new A330 NEOs. The main purpose of such a restructuring is to cram in a record 460 seats. That's 20 more than before. There's a new tendency, in Asia in particular, to stuff more passengers into the aircraft that fly the most popular routes. Of course, customers are less than happy with this development, but it does help the aviation industry. For example, in Asia, more than 100 million people fly for the first time every year. And the cramming in strategy is helping low-cost carriers serve those travelers who care more about price than comfort. But the most popular tactic to fit more people in a jet is bolting in more chairs. For example, one European low-cost carrier ordered several modified aircraft from Boeing Company in 2014. They all had 8 more seats than normal. In 2017, another airline carrier started adding an extra seat into each economy row of its Boeing 777-300s. It cost each passenger an inch of personal space. These days, less legroom is the new normal. In the early 2000s, rows in economy class were 34 to 35 inches apart. Now, a distance of 30 to 31 inches is a regular occurrence. As for short flights, rows can be a mere 28 inches apart. Well, to get the maximum number of people on board, airlines have to sacrifice something. And in this case, it's your comfort. But at least you can improve the situation by spending some money and upgrading for more legroom. You wouldn't have been able to buy additional comfort during the flight if you had traveled by plane in the 1920s. Aircraft of that time shook a lot and were loud, cold, and unpressurized. Air travel was often slower than traveling by train. Plus, it was only possible during the day. Planes could hold no more than 20 passengers and reached a cruising altitude of 3,000 feet. For comparison, these days, airplanes usually cruise at an altitude of more than 30,000 feet. The average speed of an airplane at that time was around 100 miles per hour, and they had to make frequent stops to refuel. Flight attendants appeared only in the 1930s. That's when traveling by plane got a bit more comfortable. The service was better than in the previous decade. Plus, airplanes had been developed and improved. They became soundproofed and heated. The seats got upholstered. They could now fly way higher at around 13,000 feet. It reduced turbulence and allowed planes to move twice as fast. The first pressurized commercial airplane appeared in 1938. The 1950s are often called the golden age of air travel. Flying at that time wasn't cheap. A round trip from Chicago to Phoenix could easily cost today's equivalent of $1,168. For a one-way flight to Europe, you would have to pay more than $3,000 in today's dollars. At the same time, it was a lavish experience. Passengers showed up for their flights dressed up and could enjoy in-flight meals that included prime rib and lobster. With time, flying became more and more common. In the 60s, passengers stopped dressing up as much as before. People could fly without any form of ID. They could just arrive at the airport half an hour before the departure and go straight to the gate, often together with their loved ones who came to see them off. Security screening became mandatory only in the early 1970s because bigger flights also meant more passengers. The jumbo jet, aka the Boeing 747, made air travel more affordable for millions of travelers. Airlines could now transport large numbers of passengers, and they started selling tickets at more reasonable prices. At that time, there was still plenty of legroom, and flight attendants had enough time to cater to every passenger's needs. From 1970 to 1974, American Airlines even featured a piano lounge in the rear of its 747. In the 1980s, you could check as many bags as you wanted. Meals were always included, and you could visit the cockpit during the flight. There, children were given a wing pin to remember the experience. In the 1990s, people saw in-flight entertainment for the first time. And 20 years later, in the 2010s, passengers started to expect the same conveniences they were used to having on the ground. For example, they wanted private touchscreen TVs and USB chargers in every seat, and on many flights, they got it. But at the same time, some airlines began to introduce extra fees for literally everything, from carry-ons to seat assignments. Free meals also turned into a rarity. There's also a tendency nowadays for airplane seats to become less and less comfortable, and there's a reason for that. Surprise, surprise, it has to do with airlines trying to make more money. Plane seats themselves are designed in a certain way, which often makes it unpleasant to sit on them for long periods of time. The main issue is that the seats need to be light. It can help avoid high fuel consumption. Airlines design seats to weigh as little as possible to fly planes more cheaply. And how can you make a plane seat lighter? Right, by using less padding. Together with the decreasing legroom and seat width, it makes flying long distances quite uncomfortable. Plus, plane seats are made to be both lightweight and strong and fire retardant. So they usually have an aluminum frame and some kind of urethane foam attached to it. Some seats even have Kevlar in them. All this is covered with leather, which is used to make seats look nicer. It also allows flight attendants to clean up spills easily. When choosing a seat on a plane, you should keep in mind a number of important moments. If you often get motion sickness, pick a seat over the wing. This way you'll feel less turbulence. If you have a short connecting time, opt for a seat in the front. If you're traveling with somebody, pick a window and an aisle seat in the back of the plane. Unless the flight is sold out, the chance is high that the middle seat between you will remain unoccupied. If you're planning to sleep during your flight, go with a window seat. If you feel you might need easy access to the bathroom during the flight, pick an aisle seat towards the back of the aircraft. And if you need to have a small bag with you during the flight, avoid picking a bulkhead seat. They usually don't have anywhere to store your carry-on other than the overhead bins. Oh, and speaking of your luggage, while packing your bag, try to use all the space available to you. It's a great idea to put small items like socks or a swimsuit inside your shoes. Pack your scarf and belt into your handbag. If you're going to travel with a backpack, put the heaviest items at the bottom. Also, try to roll everything. This way, your clothes will take up less space and will wrinkle less. When going on a trip, leave your large wallet at home. Instead, put all your essentials like your passport or cash into a small container or even a toiletries bag. You can also use a mint tin to keep your credit cards and money. Put everything inside, then cover it with a piece of paper and fill the tin with mints. Now, you've got the perfect hiding spot. Take a picture of everything that you've packed in your bag before you go to the airport. This way, if your luggage is lost, you'll be able to make a claim with the airline or your insurance company by showing them the items that have been lost. It's bound to increase your chances of receiving compensation for your stuff. You may also consider printing out a copy of your boarding pass and putting it inside your suitcase. This way, if your suitcase gets lost, it will be easier for the airport workers to identify it.
So, why did people decide to add heels to shoes? Because they already had tongues? No. The heel invention dates back to the 10th century, and the original goal was to make horse riding more comfortable. Low heels let them fix their feet better in the stirrups to prevent slipping off. After many years, by the 17th century, shoes with heels became a fashionable trend in Europe. People wore them to show they had a horse, and this way tell everybody they were rich. Now, remember the chewing gum Turbo and its unusual shape? They created such a shape to make the gum look like a track from a racing car tire. 10, 9, 8, 7. Space engineers didn't invent the countdown. It was created by Austrian-German-American film director Fritz Lang in 1929. One of his films included a scene with the countdown. Then NASA decided to steal it. Use it. Now, you take a spaghetti spoon with big teeth. See that hole in the middle? Its purpose is not to take out pasta. Use this circle to determine how much of it one person needs. The amount of dry spaghetti that fits in the hole is one standard serving. You don't have to guess how much spaghetti to cook for 3 people. Measure it with the spoon. In a supermarket, you pass by a shelf with eggs and try to decide which ones are better, the white ones or the brown ones. There's practically no difference between them. The egg's color depends on the breed of the chicken. These birds produce 2 different color pigments. You can take eggs of any color because the nutritional components of the eggs are almost the same. So, what came first, the brown egg or the white egg? Never mind. It's enough to use a small amount of toothpaste to brush your teeth, the size of a pea. But the ads show that you have to cover the entire toothbrush with paste as a marketing ploy. You see, manufacturers want you to buy a new tube faster. Now, a plane leaves white lines behind in the blue sky thanks to the condensation of carbon dioxide, steam, and burning fuel. In winter, steam comes out of your mouth. The same principle works here. It's always icy at the altitudes where planes are flying. Exhaust and hot air comes out of the turbines. When it collides with cold air, it creates thick lines of steam. Now, chefs' big hats indicate their status in the kitchen. It's kind of like heels. The chef wears the tallest hat. Thanks to it, it's easy to find them in a kitchen among the staff. The number of folds on the hat means the number of ways the chef can cook eggs. Of course, modern kitchens no longer adhere to these traditions, but a hat is still a must. Thanks to it, not a single hair falls into the food, thank goodness. Doctors wear hats for the same reason, to prevent hairs from falling into the patient's soup during surgery. Well, actually, there's no surgical soup. I made that up. They install cameras in shops, banks, and hospitals to monitor everything. If something happens, you can call the police or rescuers. The camera really helps to solve a lot of problems. So, why are there no cameras on planes? The crew keeps order on the plane, but they won't be able to do anything if something serious happens. Besides, there's nowhere to run on the plane. During the flight, the cameras are useless, and after the flight, the words of the passengers work ideally instead of cameras. So, if cameras do no good, then why spend money on them? Now, almost all hotels have white bed sheets. They choose this color specifically to show how high their standards of cleanliness are. The white and brighter the sheets are, the more luxurious the hotel seems. It's much easier to see dirt and stains on white linen. It's like proof that you've checked into a clean room. Ever wonder why a computer mouse is called like that? Well, in 1968, Douglas Engelbart of Stanford Research Institute introduced the computer mouse. He couldn't remember why it was called like that. The reason was probably that this little device with a wire really looks like a mouse with a tail. Gasoline looks like a rainbow in a puddle because it can't mix with water. It forms a thin membrane over it. When light reflects from it and the water at the same time, you've got a rainbow. Now, they make magnets shaped as horseshoe because this increases the magnetic force. Colors matter too. The blue part indicates the South Pole, the red part, the North Pole. The two poles work simultaneously and increase the attraction force. Now, that Do Not Disturb sign on your hotel room door is not a requirement, but just a suggestion. Maids and staff have the right to go there if they suspect something's wrong, especially if you don't remove the sign for 24 hours. Why do clocks go to the right? The sun is the main reason. In ancient times, when people invented the sundial, the sun's shadow was moving to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern hemisphere. Mechanical clocks were first invented in the northern hemisphere, so it always goes right. Or, as we now say, clockwise. Diamonds have such symmetrical shapes to show you their brilliance. Initially, the gems aren't so beautiful. They go through several stages of cutting and then become pieces of elegance. Most of these stones have a round shape with slightly pointed corners. Diamonds shine the brightest in this shape. So, why are there two holes in the socket? The left hole is neutral, the right hole is hot, and the gap underneath is ground. Electricity needs to flow through the chain. The current flows from the hot slot, passes through your phone charger, for example, and then goes through the neutral hole. Now, ever wondered what that small pocket on your jeans is for? Well, people used to wear watches on chains. A small pocket was meant for it. Now, almost no one wears such a watch, but the pocket remains. You can keep something small like a ring in there. The lollipop stick has two holes for a good reason. When they put the stick in hot syrup, the liquid flows through these holes. It helps hold the lollipop tightly on the stick when it's completely solidified. Now, the pen cap has two small holes too. They created it so you don't suffocate if you accidentally swallow the cap. Good thing. All the same, keep the cap out of your mouth. Now, why did people start to wear a tie? That all goes back to the 17th century Europe. They invented a tie to tighten a collar. It protected soldiers from the cold wind blowing on their necks. But King Louis XIII liked this element of clothing so much, he made it a must-have accessory for royal gatherings. So, why are the chopsticks connected? If they're disposable, they should be connected with a wooden clamp. It's to prove that no one used these chopsticks before you. The little fabric pieces stored in new clothes aren't actually patches. They're first test subjects before washing. You can put this cloth in the washing machine and see what happens to it. If everything is fine, you can safely wash your clothes. Now, why are the cups at parties colored red? Because it helps you quickly find your drink on the table among snacks and drinks, and all those other red cups. Here's a hint. Write your name on your cup. Also, red is considered a color that provokes action. At the psychological level, it seems the red cup is asking you, "Hey, drink me up." Now, they believe yellow taxis have their roots in 15th century Italy. One postal businessman used yellow cabins for delivering mail. He wanted everyone to recognize his cards. So, different sorts of pasta are shaped differently because a specific figure fits a particular sauce. For example, thin and smooth pasta is perfect for light sauces and ingredients. Thick ribbed pasta, such as